Mr. Dotun, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, great. So we're starting with you today.
All right.
Now, as a travel and nature photographer, I'm sure you've gone around Nigeria. I've seen some wonderful pictures you've taken around Nigeria. What are some of the most
Thank you.
unique images that you have captured about Nigerian tourism?
Um, Thank you. The most unique images I've captured about Nigerian tourism are from the plateau. Uh, Mambila. We have three plateaus in Nigeria: Mambila, Jos, and Obudu Plateau. But the most sensational is Mambila Plateau. Mambila Plateau is a playground for tourists. It's very vast. It's the largest plateau, very vast. There's a lot of attractions on it. Waterfalls, landscape, a lot of attractions, natural, cultural, diverse. It's awesome. The second location will be Yankari Game Reserve for the wildlife attraction. Yeah, I was really fascinated by what I saw. We have elephants there, lion, bush bugs, a variety of games, herbivores, ungulates. That's grass-eating games, bush bug, hat-based, etc. Yankari is in Bauchi State, so those are the two top unique attractions.
Interesting. So interesting that it's very interesting that the two places you talked about are places that are unique for our wildlife, and I can bet you that over 95% of Nigerians do not even know that we have some of these wildlife in our country. In fact, some time ago, I had this argument with someone who said there were no elephants in Nigeria, and I said, "Come on!" But even elephants once. Elephants once walked the streets of Ajose Adeogun. I don't know if all of us here knew that when, was it First Bank or Zenith Bank had an IPO, and they brought elephants right center of Victoria Island. And of course, the very first time I saw an elephant was in Yankari Game Reserve. I remember how I threw my still camera away to pick up the video camera. Okay, so Mr. Dotun, how adequately do you think that these attractions are photographed? Because it's one thing to have these attractions, and another thing for people to be able to see them. Sometimes when you Google Nigeria as a destination, very little comes up. We have vivid images of certain destinations around the world. When you think of London, I'm sure the River Thames and the London Bridge comes to mind. When you think of Paris, the Eiffel Towers, every destination in the world has something that is unique, and that's because over time they've been so well photographed. So, how adequately photographed do you think Nigeria is as a country? Are you there, Mr. Dotun? Okay, great. I think that we may have lost him. So whilst we wait for him to come back, I would like to share a short video, and then we'll go to Mr. Brian. So this video is about Destination Nigeria, and it was created by Mr. Brian. So please enjoy, and then we'll come to talk about this. Okay, I forgot that I was streaming from my.
Nigeria is the undiscovered jewel in the crown of Africa. It is a country of vast tropical and equatorial woodlands with arid deserts to extensive savanna grasslands, expansive mountains, immense rivers, numerous waterfalls, and mystic forests. Nigeria has it all. It is a place of rhythm, of dance, of music, of festivals, of tradition and culture, of spectacular color, of glamour, and a country of 200 million smiles. And home to a unique people of incomparable passion. A country blessed with breathtaking landscapes.
Yes.
Home to some of the most diverse equatorial flora and fauna species, including the unique Jos Plateau indigo bird, the Anambra waxbill, the Niger Delta red colobus, the near-extinct four-toed forest elephant, and the Cross River gorilla. It has the largest concentration of drill monkeys to be found anywhere on Earth. The Niger Delta has the highest amount of monotypic fish families in existence and is situated in the second biggest delta and mangrove region in the world. Nigeria is the undisputed welcoming heart of Africa. With a population close to 200 million people, it has 521 unique languages with many more dialects, and the world's newest organic language, Pidgin, and also the world's oldest structured sign language, Hausa Sign Language, or HSL. The ancient city of Kano houses the world's oldest continuous market, the 600-year-old Kurmi Market. Nigeria has two UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the Iron Age Sukuru landscape situated in Adamawa State, as well as the proto-historical and sacred Osun-Osogbo Grove situated in Osun State. The world's oldest custom-made boat, the 8,500-year-old Dunufa Kano, was discovered in Yobe State in the northeast of the country. With many unique and ancient cultures, traditions and customs, in addition to hundreds of mouth-watering dishes in the national cuisine, it is also a country steeped in spirituality, with as many Muslims as Christians. It is the origin of the world's oldest practiced philosophical system in Ifa, also known as Afa. It is practiced as Santeria, Candomblé, Palo, Umbanda, and Voodoo in many countries around the world. Nigeria also boasts the oldest known unbroken paternal monarchy of more than 10,000 years, in addition to thousands of monarchies and numerous sultanates going back many hundreds of years. The town of Badagry in Lagos State was used as a slave port during the transatlantic slave trade for a period of 379 years. Between 8 to 11 million people were captured and forced into slavery via the point of no return, initially to the West Indies, Cuba, North America, and later on Brazil and elsewhere in South America. Genetic science has revealed that approximately 65% of all African Americans indicate Yoruba genetics, and more than 85% of all people of African origin in Brazil and Cuba are from Nigeria as the country it is today. The country has always been the beating heart of African football. It has gifted the world with some of the most dynamic and creative football players of all time. Gifted the world with music and artists such as the late great Fela Kuti, King Sunny Ade, Seal, Dr. Alban, and many international stars. Nigeria has also gifted the world with giants of African literature and poetry. However, Nigeria is a country on the move. The Eco-Atlantic project in Lagos will be the most advanced new city on the planet. It is a country of hardworking people and industrious and creative people. Its film industry, Nollywood, produces close to 2,000 films annually. The country is also well known for its exotic deep ocean diving, in addition to sports fishing of marlin and tuna. Nigeria is a country of kings, of queens, businessmen and businesswomen, a place of vast sprawling game parks and highly developed cities, a country of drums, of color, culture, of festivals, music, rhythm and art. This is Nigeria. There is simply nothing quite like it.
So great. I don't know how many of us believe that that is our country. Anybody who thinks that is their country, Nigeria, raise up your hands. It is so surreal, but that is Nigeria. And thankfully with us today, we have the creator of that video. I'm so excited to have him with us, and he'll be speaking with us shortly. Let me just see if Dotun is back with us. Okay, great. Dotun, are you back? Hello, Dotun. Okay, looks like we still have some issue with Dotun's network, but I can see some hands up. Before I go to Mr. Brian, let's listen to Pelu. What do you have to say?
Hello. No, I know you. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Pelu.
No, you said we should raise our hands up if we believe that was our country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I forgot I said that. Okay, that's it. Okay, now let's go to Mr. Brian. Mr. Brian, good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, I think I need to unmute you.
Okay, sorry, apologies, I forgot to unmute. My humblest apologies. A very good afternoon to the panelists, a very good afternoon to all of you watching. Okay, so just briefly to discuss that video. Now, that video was used for two things, or was produced for two reasons. One was that the Ministry of Information, or Nigeria was pitching, I think it was 3 years ago, for the UNWTO CAF meeting against four other African countries. So the minister asked me to come up with something of Nigeria that they could use as a pitch, pitch. And I said to the minister, you know what, don't do big documents, and you know what, people are just too lazy to read and go through all of these documents. You know, I've been through a number of global pitches when I was working in South Africa for the World Cup, the Cricket World Cup, the Volvo Around the World Ocean. So it's all these big, huge books like this. I said, no, put together a 5-minute video where everybody that is engaged and involved in the choice will see a dynamic video and see something very different about what Nigeria is. So I put that together with not much money. I mean, a production of that nature. Literally what I did, scratched the surface of what Nigeria is about. And that's a fact. I didn't put in stuff like Ejele as an example because I just couldn't get video of Ejele. I literally put this video together sitting where I'm sitting now in front of this very same computer. That's how I did it. I couldn't get Ejele, I couldn't get festival, Tea Festival, I couldn't get the Idoma Stilt Festival, nothing from Akwa Ibom. There's lots of stuff in Akwa Ibom. Many things I couldn't get, but that was what I could get. Okay, so I put this together, and then Nigeria won the right to host the UNWTO. As you know, it was held in Abuja. And then the presidency came to us and said, can we use the video but add some security stuff and pitch for the IPI, the International Press Institute, which is a huge pitch. It was against Croatia, it was against Australia, against New Zealand and Canada. And Nigeria won the IPI pitch with the same video. Because, but the thing is, what is so outstanding about or astounding about the video is that is Nigeria. Nobody expects that to be coming out of Nigeria. Nobody expects that Nigeria's got the stuff. So to move to this, I say again that this is just a tip of the iceberg of what's available in Nigeria. Just a tip of, this is just a global view of what is available in Nigeria. I would personally love to go do a high volume, high value video of what really goes on in Nigeria and get high quality film about this. But they just don't have the budget. The federal government doesn't view, and this is unfortunate, doesn't view tourism as a value-adding channel worthy of significant investment. And then the states themselves, ask the question, not understanding that everywhere outside of Nigeria, every 5 out of 100 people that are employed, 5 work in the tourism industry. So it's the single biggest job creator of anything. And Nigeria, I mean, if I were to begin, Nigeria, as opposed to any country in the world, has got more tourist valued propositions than any country in the world. In fact, many continents in the world. But it's a packaging issue and it's an economy of motion issue if you want me to talk about that. But let me give somebody else I can come back and discuss it a bit later if it's over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Brian. So, and thank you for that amazing video. And the reason why we're having this meeting is because we want to basically show that it is possible to sell Nigeria. And you've just demonstrated that with that 5-minute video, you were able to win those, what's it called, hosting rights that probably would not have won with 500-page documents, because videos don't lie. Now, I'll go back to Mr. Dotun. I can see him back with us. I hope his network is okay now. Dotun, are you there?
So I'm here. I'm here. So
great.
Sorry. So no, sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. We understand our network issues. So I don't know if you saw that video. I don't know if you saw that video, but as a photographer, let me ask you, how well do you think Nigeria is?
No, I missed it.
Okay. As a photographer, as a nation and travel photographer, how well do you think Nigeria is photographed in terms of our tourism assets? Because it's one thing for you to go online and search, and then what do you see when you Google Nigeria? Would it be crime and violence and pictures of Boko Haram, or would it be those beautiful attractions, some of which you mentioned earlier on?
Yes. To sell Nigeria, we dwell on the positive. Yeah, we dwell on the positive. We dwell on original content. This is tourism photography, travel photography, nature photography. So we are all about beauty, aesthetics. That's what I dwell on. Yeah, the beauty of nature, the beauty of life around nature. So photojournalists will dwell on objective content, shooting Boko Haram and all that stuff. Yeah, good and bad. But I am more on the positive side to sell tourism, Nigerian tourism to Nigerians. Yes.
And that makes you my friend, by the way, because I believe that what we need to do is to project a lot more of our beautiful side. I mean, everybody has their problems, but nobody knows about showcasing all of the crises that they have indoor. I remember Mrs. Gumbi always says that when you have a visitor, when the visitor comes into your house, you don't take them straight into your bedroom. You show them your living room and perhaps your kitchen that is looking very neat and tidy. And that's what tourism is about, because it's show business. Now, how do you think photographers and others in that media space can contribute to exciting Nigerians about destination Nigeria?
It's very simple. To sell Nigeria effectively, we photographers and content producers, media persons need to have that purpose at the back of their mind. Selling Nigeria, that should be their focus. Selling Nigeria to Nigerians, also selling Nigerians to foreigners. That should be the foremost purpose. Nothing should come before that. Not even profit making or personal brand. I think that should be the priority. When they make that's the priority, and coupled with original content that they put out, the objective is going to be met. Every other thing is going to fall in place.
Great. How do you fund some of the work that you do? Do you get support from state tourism boards, from ministries, and all of that?
No, at all. Not yet. No, I don't. I sell some pictures. I have partnerships, mostly private. I raise funds on my own, personal savings, and the likes. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
so there's a market for these images out there.
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
There is sort of.
Okay, great.
But
Yes, go ahead.
But I don't do it for the market. I do it because it needs to be done. Yeah, it really needs to be done. I felt, like your previous question, a lot of places are still undocumented. We have a lot of beautiful locations. For example, our national parks. There's no much pictures coming from national parks around Nigeria. Kainji National Park, Cross River National Park, where the gorillas that was trending last week were photographed with remote camera. Yeah. Gashaka Gumti National Park. No much media coming from those areas. So these are lapses that need to be covered in the coverage, tourism coverage of Nigeria. And that's part of what made me visit Yankari Game Reserve. Yeah. They need to document our wildlife. They have just been there. People go to see them, but there are very few professional images coming out of that location to promote the park, and to sell Nigerian tourism. And that's what inspired me to go do that earlier this year before the lockdown. Yeah.
Okay, great, Dr. Thank you so much for all the wonderful stuff that you do. We'll be coming back to you. Let's go back to Mr. Brian. Mr. Brian, are you there?
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say, Nigerians struggle from a negative perception that has been developed about Nigeria. So I just want to give you a big picture, and you need to start seeing the big picture. About a comment that you raised about you don't show people your bedrooms, etc., when visitors come. Let's do a side-by-side comparison. South Africa homicide rate last year, 2019, 21,304 people. Nigeria, 6,350 people. South Africa has a population of 50 million people. Nigeria has 200 million people. Let's talk about rape cases. In Nigeria, 3,105 rape cases reported last year. South Africa, 57,000. America, 438,000. Let's talk about kidnapping. They had 1,800 cases of kidnapping last year. England, the United Kingdom, had 3,000 cases of kidnapping. Now, from a big picture point of view, you are far less likely to be murdered or kidnapped or raped in Nigeria than any other country in the world. It is as simple as that. But Nigerians don't see it because Nigeria has never been packaged to Nigeria. The only thing you hear about all the time is hush puppy, all of the nonsense. And if anything bad happens in Nigeria, a policeman, let us look at this. Does anybody here know how many Nigerian citizens were murdered by Nigerian police last year? I can tell you that number. The number was 51. South Africa last year, Citizens murdered by the police, 1,004. 53% of them was murdered whilst in custody. So you have a higher chance of being murdered in America by a policeman as a person of color, or in South Africa as a person of color, than in Nigeria. So let's look at the big picture, and this is what we need to do. Nigerians need to see interjecting, just so we have terms of reference moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Brian. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we had to have you as a panelist, because I've listened to you speak and I've seen all of the great stuff that you have done, and there's nothing that worries me more than this situation that you have just described. It looks like the average Nigerian is defeated. You know, there's a psyche. We feel it looks like we are in bondage. And so sometimes when you even hear people in the tourism industry, you hear travel agents, you hear some tour operators, you wouldn't hear two sentences and then you hear insecurity. And I'm wondering, like, is it that we don't leave this country, or is it that we don't follow the news of what is happening anywhere else? You know, so everybody has their problems, but we must always put our best foot forward. And of course, tourism also has a strong role to play in terms of crime and any vice, assuming that we are that bad as we think that we are. You know, because if people are gainfully employed, then where do you get those who will be recruited for vices? So let's ponder about these questions. Mr. Brian, I'll ask you another question straight ahead. As a communications expert, what ideas do you think we can implement to excite Nigerians? You know, whether it is private sector or whether it is as a national park service. We have the DG here and we have the DG. Sorry, I forgot to acknowledge the, as we're showing that video, the DG of the NTDC also came in. You're welcome, sir. So we have two of the most important DGs for tourism here. So what ideas do you think we can implement? First, as private sector, because that's what these meetings are for. How can private sector support whatever we're doing, whatever the public sector is doing? And then, yeah, so what ideas do you think we can implement? Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, just very quickly. And I think it's instructive that gentleman spoke about Mambila. I've been up to Mambila, to the dam, the hydroelectric dam, and I've been very fortunate particularly working with the Ministry of Information, that I've been everywhere in Nigeria, literally everywhere, and oftentimes 3 times. I literally got into a car and drove all around Nigeria, literally in one go, non-stop. Traveling for a day, traveling, starting in Lagos, going to Ondo, all the way Abia, all the way to Abakaliki, all the way up. So I've been to most places. But the problem you have here is you've got everything, right? There's nothing that you don't have. When you look at the National Park in Taraba, Plateau, Mambila Plateau, Yankari, just 3 examples. And of course, a simple one is Kainji. Kainji is very easy in terms of accessibility in Kwara. But to go to Mambila Plateau is a nightmare. To go to anybody who's been to Yankari, it's a 5.5-hour trip from Bauchi, the actual place. Even to go to Obudu is problematic. So I think what we need to do, what needs to be done in Nigeria is to say, listen, we've got all of these amazing things. How do we engage in economy of motion? That's the most important thing. In other words, economy of motion, how it reflects back to how quick is it, how accessible is it? So let me give you another example, just very quickly. I don't know if anybody is aware, the four biggest festivals in the world, in terms of how many people attend this. Holi in India is 3 million. Rio Carnival is 1.5 million. Ghana Carnival in Morocco is 1 million. And then the 4th biggest festival in the world is in Nigeria. Olojo Festival in Ili Ife holds anywhere between 500 to 600,000 people every year. This festival, sadly, is not on the national calendar of festival, is one of the, in terms of accessibility, it's very easy to get there. And then you have accommodation issues. Let's take Agungu Fishing Festival, which is on the calendar. Has anybody been up to Agungu? Is there even an hotel in Agungu? Is there even a hotel in Berlin-Kebi? Do you understand what I'm saying? So one has to go to Sokoto, which has got decent hotels, by the way, very nice hotels. But one has to go to Sokoto. There's nothing on the ground in Agungu. So I think there has to be more of a collective strategy on the economies of how does one get to a particular place easily, quickly, safely, and comfortably. I think that's the most important thing, because there is nothing Nigeria hasn't got comparable to the rest of the world.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brian. So you just said we need to look at how we get people there. And thankfully, in the past 2 weeks, we've been speaking to the transportation sector as well as the accommodation sector. And I can assure you that we're working on how we can get these ideas to motion. Because, of course, all of these things just need collaboration. You know, yes, it will take 6 hours to get to Obudu from Enugu or from Calabar. But if we were an organized tour group, for example, I'm sure if we have a scheduled shuttle from Enugu or from Calabar at any given day, and you have all of the 6,000 travel agents in Nigeria selling that package, I am sure with our population, we will fill that bus every day. So then you have the issue of people accessing it a lot easier. And of course, this raises the issue of investments. And thankfully, that is also another discussion that is happening. For all of us who are available, I'd like us to please make our time to join the discussion on investments, which is being held by Goge Africa. I think that's the 22nd, and we have Mrs. Neka as one of the panelists, so she will tell us a little about that. So all of these discussions we must have, and we must start to action as much as possible, because as you were, this is serious business, and the only way we can benefit is when we start to plant our our seeds now. My last question for you, Mr. Brian, is how do you think we can convince commercial brands to leverage on the beauty of Nigeria? You know, whilst creating awareness about their products, they can also create excitement about Nigeria.
Okay, you know the problem is one views, you cannot view corporate Nigeria differently to Nigerian citizens themselves, because corporate Nigeria are Nigerian citizens. Tony Olumelu of UBA is a Nigerian. Jimovia is a Nigerian. Do you understand? So we're not talking to this entity that's very separate to the realities that's on the ground in Nigeria. So I think it will be far more incisive to be able to do a national campaign, a national building campaign. And the one thing, you know, it's the first time that I actually played this video in public. And I've been reading, there's been 24,000 people that's viewed, but I've been reading the interesting comments from Nigerians from all over the world. And it's all positive. So I think what we need to do is to first embark on a campaign to Nigerians about Nigeria, and which indirectly targets corporate Nigeria. To be able to convince corporate Nigeria that Nigeria is from a tourism point of view is there's significant value in terms of that investment. Yeah, they kind of, you know, with some festival, loads of festival, I think sponsors spend up to about 150 million. But you're always going to have the same sponsors. You're always going to have MTNs, the Airtels, the beer companies, and always the same old. And they only have X amount. I see Neka. I see Neka's nodding. I'm sure Neka's been involved in this previously. It's always the same thing. It's the same people over and over and over again. I think also one needs a meeting with all of Nigeria to be able to, as a structured package, to sell Nigeria to these people and explain to them without their assistance, this will happen. This is not going to work. We do need that, and we need civil society to play a role at the same time. You know, but to excite corporate Nigeria. I don't think it's a difficult task. It's not a difficult task, and it's not a big ask. I just don't think they spend enough money. I mean, the fact that they can give 5 DJs, Pepsi as an example, can give 5 DJs 60 million naira to endorse their product, or 70 million naira, and they're all from Lagos, as if there's nobody in there's nobody living in the north of Nigeria, or there's nobody living in the southeast of Nigeria, and there's nobody else living in anywhere else in Nigeria. And that's the problem. You see, essentially, the root cause of the problem in Nigeria, and I'm going to tell you this, and I know it's not going to sound nice, but people who live in Lagos believe that they're the center of the universe of Nigeria. The average Nigerian who lives in Lagos has been to 3 places, generally speaking. 1, Lagos. 2, hopefully their village where they come from. And 3, where they went to NYSE. And that's the net sum of their experience of Nigeria. And that needs to be changed. We need to show corporate Nigeria what Nigeria is about. And that's where the SAL begins, really. So I don't want to hog the conversation.
Great. So we need to start to change mindsets. I can't be happier with this conversation, seeing that we have all of these great players in the house. And I can assure you that we will start that campaign. 1, as private sector, and then 2, working closely with the NTDC and with the National Park Service. I mean, we've had thankfully the support of these 2 organizations, and we're sure that they are going to hold our hands as we go ahead, because this is about first and foremost about the private sector, tourism. It touches all of our businesses, and we can generate a lot more. You know, especially now with COVID-19, our clients don't have anywhere else to go. Madam Tinuke, all of those international money, the dollars will hold for a while. So I'll come to you shortly, but let me go first to Lolo Ngozi Ngoka. Are you there, man? Okay, yes, I've seen you. Okay, great. Can you say hi, Ma?
Hello, everybody. I've unmuted. Sorry.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us. Just a few minutes ago, I was listening to your presentation when Imo State had that conference, and it was a very lovely presentation. So let me ask you straight up. You're the founder of Touristry Consultants Forum, and I know that as Vice President of Federation of Tourism Associations of Nigeria Southeast, you've done quite a lot about promoting tourism. But let me let you, say some of these things you have done, from your own, from your office.
Okay, thank you very much, and let me apologize upfront for not being quite here, because during the last presentation, which went far longer than we expected. Hello, tourism family. I'm very happy to see so many of you again and be part of this discussion. We started the discussion about homegrown tourism in the Southeast about roughly about 4 years ago. I became Vice President of FTAN, in charge of the 5 states of the Southeast. And the first thing I did was to visit all the states with my team. And in each state we met with the governor or the deputy governor, and we also met with the traditional rulers where tourism sites are located in each of the states. So what it means is that before we met with the governors, we visited the tourism sites and the traditional rulers. So that was first. And then after that, after we did a round and sensitized them, and I told them I was going to come back with tour operators and journalists So, and the reason we did that was because we wanted to simulate a package. You know, the whole 5 states of the Southeast is not really a very big region. It's something that you can actually tour the whole of the Southeast in about in 4 days. You know, you can visit all the states in 4 days. So that was what we did. We did a package. We did a package that included tours to all the tourism locations in the 5 states. You know, we have 2 airports. One is not functional now. Enugu is being repaired, but at that time the 2 airports were functioning. So what we did was we got them to land in Enugu, and then they left from Owerri. Now, coming to the Southeast, it's very, very easy for you to operate from Owerri. And I'm not just saying that because I'm from there. For those of you that know me, you know that I have my roots in all the parts of the Southeast, because my mother or my grandmother or somebody, they all come from different parts of the Southeast. So for me, the Southeast Nigeria is one region for me. I'm very comfortable anyway. So we did that. We now invited the journalists and the tour operators, and we did the tour. They slept in Owerri. So what it meant was that every day we'll go to the tour, we'll tour any part of the Southeast, and then they come back and sleep in Owerri. And it was a very successful 4-day trip. And so that's why, that's what we've been doing. And now I've been playing a supportive role to all the tourism businesses. And you know, EFTAN is association made up of different tourism associates. So what I do now, what I've been doing after opening up the state, the region to people, almost on a weekly basis, we get demands, we get people that want to tour the Southeast, or they need something from the Southeast, and they contact us, and we link them up to the necessary providers. So it's been a very, very successful 4 years for us. And we look forward to hosting anybody that wants to. Just give me a call anytime, and we'll sort you out. A few days ago, I got calls from Calabar. I don't know what's happening at Obudu, but I got 2 people from Calabar that called. The VP South contacted me and said that there were some people from Calabar that needed vehicle from Owerri to move people from Owerri to Obudu. So, you know, I linked them up with the providers, and they arranged that. So if you ever need anything from Southeast Nigeria, let us know. We are all family, and what we want is for tourism to really, really thrive. If you watch my presentation, and I was able to simulate how much you can earn from tourism just by organizing things, because here in the Southeast, they listen more to money. You know, they listen to money. When the governor spoke, he did not mention tourism. The current governor we have in Imo State did not mention tourism for 1 minute. But by the time I finished speaking, the economic team, which invited me as a panelist to talk on economic development of Imo post-COVID-19, they've included tourism squarely into because it's a low-hanging fruit. It's a low-hanging fruit, you know. So I'm happy to be here, and I'll hand over back to Efe to continue with the discussions.
Thank you so much, ma. So, tour operators in the house, you've heard that she has extended an invitation, and so we'll have to visit and see how we can create products. I can see a number of messages from the chats, and just like Mr. Brand said, we must have products that can be marketed. It's not just sufficient to have these beautiful sites or these attractions. Attractions on their own have no value. It only becomes valuable when it becomes a product that tourist A or B can pay 10 naira for and travel and enjoy. So tour operators, that is our challenge. Now, let me ask you my next question, ma. We have a lot of celebrities all around Nigeria, and these celebrities are so popular around the world that we make things happen. how do you think we can? And sorry, before I mention that, let me quickly say that we have reached our maximum. Unfortunately, we have a maximum of 100 people. And so just in case you're shut out by network or anything, you can watch live on Facebook. So just look for Nigeria Travel Week on Facebook, because if you're logged out, it may be hard to come back in, but you can then follow us on Facebook, or maybe one or two people could be. Usually when you mention tourism, people don't turn up. So we always plan for 50 people. But I guess this is beginning to get some steam. So my question: how do we take advantage of our celebrities and Nollywood and our music stars? How do we take that platform that they have, their following, to change the narrative of Nigerian tourism? How do we make them become models? We see how other countries come and take our stars to visit their countries to showcase their destinations. How do we do the same here for Nigeria?
Yes. It's a good thing you asked that, because it was also in my presentation and in the roadmap that I had created when I was the director of tourism for Imo State. We had planned for the celebrities to use them to bring people to Imo State, because you know that a lot of them have following. All they have to do is to say, I'm going to Owerri, I'm going to Anambra, I'm going to this place, and there'll be a lot of people that will come with them. So what we could do is to use those their following to advertise. If you're going somewhere, for example, if you're coming to the Southeast and you invite one of them, pay for their trip and all that, and they agree to come, that will guarantee that you have a lot of people in your attending events already. So that's one way that we could use them. And then you could also pay them to advertise on their social media pages, because like we said, they have a lot of following. So these are the kind of things that you do. Technology is key now. If you're doing an event, so long as there's a hype around that event, and the easiest way to create a hype is to have all these celebrities key into whatever it is that you're doing. And so we have a lot of them. We have Kanu Wanko, who is my neighbor here in Owerri, and I'd already engaged him in some of the activities that we plan around them. They have hotel. They have a guest house in Owerri. We use them all the time. A lot of them have established base here in Owerri, and we use them sometimes on their own. They invite Hollywood stars to their facilities so that people will come and use them. Some of them have nightclubs as well. So it's not just the celebrity status that they have in Lagos or elsewhere. They've also established base here in the Southeast. So, and they've been very, very supportive about, with everything that we're doing, be it sport, be it tourism. They've always been very supportive.
Great, thank you so much, man. We have that we can take advantage of, and I'm sure that we'll start to look at these ideas going forward. Let me crave the indulgence of the DG of NTDC. Are you still there, sir? Let me see.
I can see you.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much for making our time to join us today, sir. So, and thankfully you joined us from the start, so you've seen how the discussions have gone. So we're saying, what ways do you think we can, as private sector, partner with NTDC to start to project these positive narratives about domestic tourism in Nigeria?
One of the reasons why a lot of things fail in this environment is simply because we are in a rush to build on nothing. We don't understand that you need a solid foundation before you can put a skyscraper up, or else you're just going to slide into the lagoon. Now, all those other countries that we have heard glorious things mentioned about the tourism industry, do you know when their laws were made? Their laws were probably upgraded, updated every 2 years. How old are our laws? Our taxation laws? Our tourism investment laws? How old are they? Do you get the encouragement to borrow money to invest in tourism? Tourism is a business. If we don't look at that very first thing, the laws that control the taxes you pay and what you can do in tourism, to bring it to 2025 COVID compliance, like Dubai is doing right now, like South Africa is doing. Let me put it in another way. Without this legal structure, we had oil in the ground in Nigeria. Without the legal structure, there won't be a Mobil or Total in Nigeria. Without the legal structure, the banks will still be Union Bank, etc. No disrespect to them. But now you've got the Zenith and the GTBs. Without that legal structure that I'm talking about for tourism, we will still be on not 9 not Nitel mobile telephone lines. Now we have MTN, Zain, or whatever the new GSM systems are. So the growth, the recognition that an industry requires the legal framework for growth must first be done. Before you go into the human capital requirements of training, COVID compliance training, before you go to the issues of infrastructure. I've been through quite a few states of Nigeria in the last 20 years. And I've been to quite a few African countries as well. And as much as we complain about our lack of infrastructure, we do have quite a bit of infrastructure in this country compared to others. I like what Brian said in terms of Nigerians we are in a way our own enemy when it comes to demarketing Nigeria. A lot of the stuff that is put out as negatives about Nigeria is actually put out by Nigerians. Our press, I mean, there's something called development journalism. You think of the bigger picture before you say something. Think before you post. Most of those images come from us. We don't own any of the global platforms that sell the negative story about Nigeria. We don't own Google, we don't own Facebook. And we don't own any of the global reporting structures like CNN, etc. So we are feeding a system that is constantly pushing us back. I don't want to dwell too much on what everybody knows that needs to be done. Everybody on this 100 group is a tourism expert. But there's some things that are happening that have happened now. We were asleep, happily end of last year, we welcome 2020. And now we are in July. I don't think anybody has really made any real revenues in 2020. It's been quite a nightmare considering our expectations for this end of a decade. If we don't pay attention now to some of the things that need to be done, because God has given us a very natural advantage. Dubai hotels are empty like Eco Hotel is empty. Dubai airport is empty like Muritala Mohammed and Nnamdi Azikiwe are empty. So the whole world has come to a standstill in spite of these comparative advantages, whether in infrastructure or technology, etc. What are they doing with this stop time, this downtime? What are they doing? What are we doing? And it's just not government, because I must say something here. If anybody is waiting for government to come and do it all for you, you've got a long wait. If you want to partner with government in some whatever way you can partner with government, if you want to aggregate businesses, mergers, acquisitions, etc., so that weak people come together to be stronger, to team up with government, to go into a self-help situation, that's where we really are. Nobody's bringing in Forex to come and help us right now because they've also got their own problems. And their problems are definitely going to take priority over us. I'd like to just mention a few things that I think I want to introduce a word called reimagine. You've got to reimagine your business, you've got to reimagine your space, and those two things will involve training. Are you comfortable with technology? The disruptive technologies like Uber, like Airbnb, those are the things that are going to drive the future of this industry. How easy is it for people to access your products? Do you package your products? I mean, I don't think I'm not aware right now of, if you live in Lagos and you work in Abuja, you can get a package of an airline ticket, a hotel, and a taxi for the 1 week you work in Abuja and go back. Those things need to be done, and they need to be done at a competitive price that is easy to sell, like sell Dubai and South African packages. This is also the time to copy. This is the time copycat. This is the time to copy good habits, good ideas, good initiatives from other countries. You don't have to develop it from scratch. It's already there. This is the time for you to take advantage of it and try to do the extraordinary, because we are facing extraordinary situations in the country now. This is the time for us to standardize. You know, a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star restaurant, hotel, whatever. This is the time for standards, so we can compete with a global, with even a regional market, not a global market, a regional market. The way tourism is going to come back, one of the things it's going to be sensitive to is COVID mortality. The places that have had very high COVID mortality, people are going to have confidence issues in going there. So places that have low COVID mortalities, yes. Like for us in Nigeria, our infection rate is 35,000. We have about 12 or 13,000 cured and under 1,000 dead. Brian said, hello, Brian. You don't remember me. The video. The statistics that taint Nigeria, nobody really pays attention to them. And even if you threw those statistics at people, I've always said Nigeria is not the murder capital of the world, but if you give somebody a ticket right now to go to the murder capital of the world, which is the USA, they would be on that plane. Same thing with rape. Even this internet crime that we are supposed to be experts at. Nigeria is not the capital of 419. I'm sure that if we put it to a vote here, there are people on this webinar who have probably lost money to somebody from those countries that call us 419, because they practice it there too. 419 is not, a Nigerian specialty. It's a global phenomenon. There are changes that need to be made, especially in terms of each individual business that is here. Those changes, the tourism is public sector dependent in some cases, but it's primarily a private sector driven initiative. It is important that synergies are found between all our businesses, from government to public sector, to private sector tour operators, airlines, hotels. Synergies have to be found that reduce cost, that allow packaging to be done to encourage people to travel. Nigerians do travel within Nigeria by habit. I'm a political tourist in Abuja. I'm here to work. I normally reside in Lagos. Every Christmas, there's an exodus in one way or the other. Every Salah, there's an exodus in one way or the other. So Nigerians are natural travelers. And the air travel is only a fraction of the travel that really occurs in Nigeria. A lot of people cannot afford to travel by air. They go by road. Yes, the infrastructure. Yes, the security. But people have been moving around on our Nigerian roads forever. So I think for us to now discount our tourism industry and say, because of these issues, we have lived with it for how long? I mean, Brian said something about, being carjacked in South Africa. You're very likely to get carjacked in South Africa. Go to some areas. Yes, it will happen, almost as, as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow. But how much of that do we have now compared to what we used to have in terms of the security situation? I think the marketing is no longer about Nigeria. The marketing is about your activities and the destination. The marketing is about you investing in your destinations so that, you know, Owu waterfalls, the waterfalls are there, but if you keep digging at the water, it will just be a trickle coming off the end. You've got to package it. Nobody's going to drive from Lagos to or Abuja to Owu Falls just to look at Owu Falls. What is the sitting area? Is there any toilet? Is there any satellite telephone signal there? People feel unsafe. Sorry, I could go on and on, but I think I'm monopolizing your time and the numbers are at 100%. You and I see often. I'm sure we're going to meet again at another webinar. I'm going to put my email address in the chat. If there's anybody that wants to continue a conversation, please take the email address. And thank you for having me on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, sir. I'll take out 4 things from what you have said. One is that we need to create synergies, and that is one of the major reasons why we're having this, to see how we can collaborate between all sectors. 2, we must reimagine our business. I'm sure all of the tour operators who are here know how we have been discussing backstage about how we need to start changing how we do business. How do we work with other sectors? How do we create packages that would excite Nigerians? And then we must copy existing models. And thankfully, we have lots of beautiful models around Africa. South Africa is doing marvelously well concerning tourism. You know, we have Kenya, we have Ghana next, close to us. And so these are models that we can. And of course, one of those, the major thing that runs through all of this is that these destinations have structures. You have active tour operators who create products, and then you have a travel trade that supports and then sells these products. And then finally, the 4th thing that I took from what you have said is that we must not wait for government. Everyone who has joined these meetings for the past 6 weeks would realize that that is exactly what we've been saying from day one, that private sector must come together and do what we can, you know. Even in South Africa, now there's a model in South Africa. There is a tourism, there's a model I've been working on for the past, for some time now since I started these Zoom meetings. So there's a Tourism Business Council of South Africa that is private sector driven to raise funds to project South Africa as a tourism destination. This is a document that I've been working on for some time. And I know that South Africa spends a lot. I mean, I'm sure more than 20 times what's our budget, or if not 100 times our budget for tourism spend. And so we must look at those models and see how they are working and how we can then, you know, copy some of those ideas for Nigeria. Now, I would like to go looking at these synergies. Let me go back to Madam Ngoka. I have one more question for you, if you're there. Are you there, ma'am? Okay, let me come to the president of Alten, Madam Tinuke Nwakohu.
I'm with you.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. You've been one of our super regulars from day one. And
thank you.
And it's so
I'm happy to be here.
Great.
But my head is full having listened to Mr. Folikoka. Okay.
Of course, definitely. So first of all, let's start with you as the MD of Aviator Travels and as the president of Alten. How have you been promoting Destination Nigeria before I go to the major question I want to ask you?
Well, it's been not so difficult and not so difficult task, I tell you. In Aviator, yes, on numerous occasions we've had expatriates coming in, some for business and some for pleasure. Most of them coming to Lagos because Lagos is where they know. And Lagos is, like Brian said, Lagos is also it's my forte, it's where I know well. They come into Lagos, and there are various places we take them to in Lagos, but it is not enough. We take them, we go to Lekki Conservation Foundation, we go to Ekpe, we go to Badagry, and that's just about it. And like I had said in the past, what we take for granted, right, is what these expatriates, they love. We might think Ekemariwa is a bit funny, tacky, city, but they believe, they like it. They love to go to markets and all. We've done that. We've succeeded in bringing Americans and South Africans to Nigeria, and we've taken them to all those sites. But personally, I believe we really have not done anything. It's just the tip of the iceberg, because there are, as well, we've all said here, there's so many tourist sites we have in Nigeria. There's so many. Nigeria is a beautiful place. It is a fantastic place. It is comparable to South Africa. But like we have said, the problem is we have not actually developed it. I have my tourism Bible, which is this. I think a lot of us know this book. That's my tourism Bible, because it contains all the pictures, everything, all the sites you have in Nigeria where we can actually develop, but it's just there, static. Now let me leave that and go to my job as the president of Outen. In Outen, right, what we do, we go to different countries. Every year we select an African country and we go there. When we go there, we look at what they have. We look at their historical sites. We look at everything they have to offer the tourists. We go there, we look at it, we enjoy it, we speak to our counterparts. And whilst doing that, we also tell them that, listen, we also have these things back home. Why don't you also come to Nigeria and come and taste, a bit of Nigerian tourism? Yes, they do come, but what we have to offer them is not as much as what they have offered us. And it is not because we don't have it. We do have it, but these sites, they have not actually been developed. Nigeria is not short of tourism sites. We have myriad and millions of it. But the problem is we need to develop them. Koka has said that it is not for the government to do it. It is part of the duty is for the government to provide the infrastructure. Even if the government is not going to provide it, we need to work with the government. I presume that NTDC, one of their functions actually is to develop the tourism sites they have in their various states. And they are government. We are the private sector. What we need to do is to work together to be able to develop this site. I think there's so much. Let me not go on. Let me just stop there, because there's quite a lot of things I also want to raise.
Okay. So let me take you back on your thoughts concerning your visitors to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Now, just like you said, as much as we look at some of these things that we don't like, these are the things that these guys are coming for. Now, I've noticed personally that a lot of, over 99% of first-timers to Nigeria live with pleasant surprise. They're always pleasantly surprised. I've had, when we had Nigeria Travel Week in 2017, I remember our visitors, they were all like, really, is this the same Nigeria, that we hear and see on the news? So how can we, looking at this, address the issues of Nigerians? Because we're practically doubting Thomases, all of us, when it comes to destination Nigeria. So how can we take what we learned from foreigners enjoying our attractions and then use that to convince Nigerians to travel around Nigeria?
Okay, you see, we just assume that Nigerians are difficult. No, they're not. There's so many things that we can do that the Nigerian will enjoy. It's just all about packaging. Listen, I went to Agodi Gardens, and Agodi Gardens is such a beautiful and serene environment. It is so good. Honestly, if I were younger, it's a place that I'll tell my boyfriend, you know what, let's just go there, because you can go there and sit under the tree and just enjoy. These are the things that we can sell to Nigerians, to our youngsters. That, listen, this is a place where even if you're not in love, you go there, you will definitely fall in love, because the environment is so wonderful, it's serene, and it's beautiful. You can sell those to Nigerians. It depends on the way you package it, right? There's Olimorok. It depends on the way you package it. Sometimes people get tired and fed up sitting in Lagos doing nothing. Like Brian said, the only place you know is maybe Lagos and where you did your youth service and maybe another location. Yes, for most Lagosians, that is the thing, for most Nigerians. But if you sit down and package this store that, listen, on Friday, you set off from Lagos. Now, you drive down to Abeokuta, you stay in Udumorok for like 2 nights, you look around, you go to the market, there's so many things you can do. You go to the theater and all, and then you now move. You move to Ibadan, you go to Agodi Gardens, spend 2 days, and then you move from there, you go to Ile-Ife. It depends on, you see, how you package it. And then that takes me to what Ngozi was saying there. Now, branding is also very important. If you really want people to actually come to this place, you can tell them, you know what, Banky W is going to be there entertaining you. We're in Agodi Gardens and he's going to be there in the gardens entertaining people. There's going to be Ali Baba there and he's going to be entertaining. Honestly, Nigerians would troop there. If you tell them and say, you know what, we're going to Ekiti today and we're going to go to Ikogosi Springs, and you're going there, there's going to be Debo Macaroni. Debo Macaroni is going to be there. Tauma is going to be there. And they have, this is your accommodation. This is sort of accommodation you're going to be using. The chalets and the restaurants, these are the sort of food. All these things are what you're going to put in the package. And those extra additions, Ara is going to be playing there. You see, tourism is not just, it involves money, I do understand. It involves a lot of money. So you bring in these people together, they are the brands, and honestly, it will sell. It will make Nigerians want to go there. Because if I have a favorite artist, and I know it's going to be in this location, and this location is a fantastic place, and I'm sitting at home doing nothing, why won't I go there? So it is most important for us to actually do the packaging. And like I said earlier, we can't do it in isolation. We also need some level of government support. We need level of government, and we also need the private sector to also come in. I think in the past, the governor was talking to some banks and they had actually signed a memorandum of understanding, but unfortunately, I think it didn't work. This is the time for us to come together. We don't need to identify the sites anymore. We all know the sites. We know Agboki, Idore Hills, Ibo, Olodumare, we know all those places. Now it is for us as tourism experts to come together. We have different ones. We have, there's NTDC there, we have Travel Week, we have Aquaba, we have Nigeria 7 Wonders, there's Nanta, there's NATOP, there's the IOD, there's independent tour operators, and there's FAN, there's SCAL, there's Alten. Listen, this is the time for us to now come together and form a lobbyist group and go to the different NTDC in the various states. These are the sites. Let us now sit down and, divide all this into groups. Now we want to develop this one, we want to develop this one, we want to develop this one. I think that is the way to go. But if, like Mr. Coker said, if we sit down and say, okay, we're waiting for government, no, we would have to start something. We would have to engage these sites and let them know that these and these are the things that we need for you to put in place, because we want to bring people there. Because I don't want to bring somebody from South Africa to this location, and then they need to go into the loo, and they go into the toilet and they cannot use the toilet. They have to go into the bush. So we need to sit down with the management. We need to make sure that this thing, their facilities are improved upon and they're standardized so that when they come, it will be good. And like I said, charity begins at home. If those things are in place and they are good, I am telling you, there's no way the Nigerian will not go there. We went to Calabar, we visited Mary Slessor's house, we went into her room, went into where she was buried. We saw everything. And I tell you, it was very exciting for me, a Nigerian. I loved my trip to Calabar. I enjoyed it. It was fun. So there's no other reason why any other Nigerian would not love it. So it's all got to do with branding and packaging. I think tourism, TSF, which Ngozi is also heading, they are also doing that in the Southwest. So maybe we need to group ourselves into Southeast, Southwest, Northeast, and we'll now delegate people that, you know, this is your assignment. But what we're doing, it looks as if everybody is working in isolation in their little cocoon. So it becomes very difficult for even those we're trying to market to be able to understand. But if we're working together as a team, and we have people who can actually, these Nollywood people who can actually assist us to actually to advertise these tourism sites, there is no reason why Nigerians will not go there. It all boils down to packaging.
Wow, thank you so much. I wish I could let you continue. So, so Nigerians, you're hearing this. Now, I'd like to also get the feedback from Lolo Ngozi Ngoka, and then I'd also like to crave the indulgence of Alhaji Aminu Agoha to also say something about this, because of course that's one of he's the chairman of TCF and one of our godfathers for the travel trade in Nigeria. And then, yes, and then just after he speaks, I'll call back Mr. Brian to give us an insight into how the Tourism Business Council of South Africa, how it was established and how, because just like Madam Tinuka just said, we need to have this active collaboration, so that it's not just like we're working in silos. There are too many individual players doing little things. We must come together and do. And thankfully, we have some of our respected elders here who can take the lead and play a strong role in spearheading this kind of project. So, Madam Ngozi, what do you have to say about this? How do we push our private sector, whether associations, whether individuals, whether the travel trade, to start to change these narratives?
Okay. Thank you, Efe. Tinuka, thank you for that wonderful presentation. I wanted to add to what she said about visiting the various sites. One of the first things I did when I came to the Southeast was to find out exactly who our target market is. Because you see, all the destinations are not for everybody. And in Nigeria, we have everything. So what I did was I formed a small group, saying unstable. And I formed a small group. I said to them, I formed for older people, for younger people. And I said, where would you like to go in Nigeria? What do you want to see? What do you want to experience? What kind of experiences you have? Do you want? And based on the responses I got, I realized that my state in Imo is actually for young people. We have everything that young people want. And so I decided to target all my marketing and everything, and all the things we were putting together to target young people. And then at Christmas time, we have people that come home with their families and all that. So we were planning things for older people as well, and things for young people to do. So what we need really to do is to start, like the DG said, we have to start from scratch. When you want to get into something, you need to know who your location, who the target audience, who the target market, who to target, because it's not everybody that you target for every location. So that's just what I wanted to add to what she was saying, that we really have to go to basics when it comes to tour packaging. A lot of people do not know how to package tours. They think that you can just put everything together and people will go. You cannot package a destination and invite Two-Face, for example. You have to invite Two-Face, those younger people, to locations where you have nightclubs. Even if they go to visit every other tourist site, at night they want to party. So you cannot deprive them of that kind of entertainment as well. So when you're packaging, you have to look at the people that you're doing the package for. Back to you, Efe.
Thank you so much for that, Lolo. Now let me go to Alhaji.
mute myself.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, Alaji. Thank you so
Okay,
much for joining us. Please share your thoughts about this. How do you think? Yes.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity given me to say a word or two. First of all, I would like to appreciate my friend and brother, the DG NTDC, Mr. Fola Koka, for attending virtually all tourism-related webinars since the beginning of this Zoom webinars. It has really shown that he is really interested in the tourism industry. He's really interested in moving the industry forward. He attends every one, even if it's as a very short notice. I really appreciate that and thank him again once again. Secondly, I also want to appreciate Mr. Brian for the wonderful video he played, which showed a lot of things about this great country called Nigeria. In fact, his analysis of crime rates and security issues in Nigeria vis-a-vis other countries is so outstanding that you cannot believe that this hue and cry about crime and criminality in this country is not even up to 1% of what is happening in other climes. The unfortunate thing is that, shall I say, our press, both electronic and print media, and even the social media, blow things out of proportion. Blow things out of proportion. That it looks as if Nigeria is the dungeon for criminal activities, when we have more than that in other countries. I think it is high time that our press, both electronic and print media, start discouraging this kind of publications. Because anytime you talk about visiting tourist sites in this country, the next thing they will tell you is security challenges, security challenges. These security challenges are not only peculiar to Nigeria, it's all over the world. And ours is not even anywhere compared to those of other countries. So security issues, as far as I'm concerned, is not something that will prevent the growth of a tourism industry in Nigeria. Then the other thing is that it's really unfortunate that the government of the day, I must say, places more emphasis on the creative subsector of the tourism industry. You see, I have a belief that without hospitality, travels, restaurant and culinary services, the creative subsector cannot function in isolation. We listened to Lola Ngozi Ngoka a while ago at our webinar in Owerri, where she cataloged the kind of income that will come to the state if there is a show going on. The hotel rooms will be sold, the restaurants will make money, the car hire will make money, even those selling gifts and artifacts and crafts will also make money. But unfortunately, the government do not see the other ones. They only see the creative industry, that is the Alibabas of this world, the Shego Arinze of this world, and so much of them. On their own, they cannot thrive, because if they come to Kano, where I am presently, without the hotel giving them accommodation and their guests, they cannot function. Without the car hire picking them from the airport to their venue, they cannot function. Without the restaurant providing good services for them, they cannot function. And other ancillary services. So it is high time that we start changing this narrative. And the only way we can do it is by properly engaging with the government, telling them how important it is to carry everything as a whole, because the creative industry is only a subsector of the tourism industry. it cannot exist on its own without the holistic effort of other value chain subsectors in the tourism industry. So I believe that we still have a lot of work to do. And like my brother, Mr. Kuka said, there's a need to review a lot of our laws, which have been very, very obsolete, ranging from taxation, ranging from tourism laws and all that. There's a need to review all these things so that we come in a pace with what is emerging in the world. Already other countries that are trying to open their economies after COVID-19 have put in various incentives, various measures to attract you to their country. So what are we doing here? We have not done anything. We need also to inform the outside world that Nigeria is ready for business. And if you look at the number of infection in this country, in Nigeria, it is a far cry compared to Europe, Asia, and America, because it will be safer for a tourist now to come to Africa than to go to US or to go to Italy. So these are the type of things that we need to use to boost our tourism industry so that we can together make a success out of it. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Alaji. So we'll go back to Mr. Brian now. But before he speaks, let me acknowledge some of the VVIPs that we have in the house. We have, I see Uncle Femi Adefope. Thank you so much for making our time to join us. I'm sure we all know that he is one of the biggest titans in the tourism trade in Nigeria. We have the SCAL president as well with us, Mr. Demola Soya. And yes, I also see the International Council of SCAL International. This is Bimbodu Tineti, who is also a member of the BOT of NATA. Thank you for joining us. The president of ATPN, Mr. Hazan Zakari, Mr. Dayo Adedayo, one of the foremost, practically the foremost tourism photographer in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us. Okay, and everyone else, this is really awesome to have all of these people in this house and talking this issue of selling Nigeria to Nigerians. Now let's go back to Mr. Brian. We're talking about the private sector muzzling resources to sell destination Nigeria. And we mentioned the Tourism Business Council of South Africa, which is a unique way that, private sector in South Africa has come together to, sell destination in South Africa. Do you have any insights you can share with us concerning this?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Efe. So in 1994, what the South African government and the corporate sector did was have a conference. And in this conference, there was all kind of business leaders, tourism, police, intelligence, army, Air Force, you name it, everybody, every group of people that was engaged in the country was there. We did a map of how we would move. At that time, South Africa, in 1994, South Africa only had about 480,000 foreign visitors to the country. And we set a goal of 10 million foreign visitors within 20 years. Listen to the number, within 20 years. And that was achieved in 2010, actually, that we had 10 million. So we did a whole lot. The most important thing we did was, in South Africa, we control the wires, what is referred to as control the wires. And this is exactly what Folikoka said about what images and messaging goes out about South Africa that is negative. So everything went through a filter before it went out. I mean, don't know if you're aware, Cape Town, so I'll come to that right now. But one of the most important things we did was, we said, what will the spearhead be? In other words, what will we do in the short, the medium, and the long term? So what would the spearhead be? The spearhead would be Cape Town. As you know, Cape Town is a beautiful city. It's been voted for the past 5 years the #1 destination in the world, most beautiful city in the world, 5 years in a row. And then, of course, the Kruger National Park. Now, I don't know if you're aware that 98% of people who come to South Africa, foreign visitors, listen to this, 98% of foreign visitors who come to South Africa go to the Kruger National Park to see the animals. 99.7% of foreign visitors who come to Kenya go to Masai Mara to see the animals. So here's the hard thing. Foreign visitors who come to Africa don't want to see Africans. They want to see animals. That's the reality. So we must get comfortable with that. So the spearhead. So let's talk about the spearhead in Nigeria. And here's the problem. Everybody, as you sit there, can I see a show of hands? Who's Christian? How many Christians and how many Muslims? And here's the problem. Your worldview is 2,000 years. That's your worldview. Your worldview go back to when this is called BCAC thing. The Simmons Genome Diversity Report of 2018 has proved that Nigerians in Nigeria was here more than 100,000 years ago. More than 100,000 years. Bend your head around that number. Now, in this video, and I stood there with the minister and I showed you in the boat. You have a boat of 8,500 years old. But yet your worldview go back to Jesus or to some other people. This was 6,500 years before this guy Jesus was supposed to be there. But let's go back to 100,000 years of Nigeria existence. In Nigeria, from an anthropological point of view, you have to ask yourself, who would be interested, in terms of the spirit, who would be interested in that? I'll go back to what I placed in that video. Are you aware, if you draw a map, take a wall and you put pictures of African Americans, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, Michael Jackson, you name any African American, 64% of them, 64% of African Americans have Yoruba genetics. It's the reality. Okay, so everybody else, don't feel horrible about this, because in terms of genetic studying, Ibu, Fula, which is Fulani, the three genetic groups, are 99.9% identical genetically 100,000 years ago. And 64% of African Americans have Yoruba Nigerian genetics. So let's just talk about Michelle. Does anybody know that Michelle Obama came to Africa? She went to Ghana. She's 81% Yoruba. Beyonce is 86% Yoruba. But they go to Ghana because they've been led to believe that they come from Ghana or from Egypt. So let me just give you the number. African Americans last year spent $61.5 billion on international travel. 61.5 billion on foreign travel. Of that, $5.5 billion went to Ghana. Of that, $7.9 billion went to Egypt, because African Americans believe they come from Ghana or from Egypt. But where do they come from? They come from Nigeria. So that should be your spearhead. That should be the focus of, forget about anything else. That should be your focus, because African Americans will come to Nigeria. Why will they come to Nigeria? 62% of all the NFL players, 62% of all the NFL players are Nigerian. Nigerians is the number one group, the number one most prosperous group of Africans residing in America. So this group, if you focus on that group, because you have the science, if you focus on that group, you can build your entire infrastructure, entire architecture based on this. Because they're sitting there, $61 billion market, just staring at you. And this market goes and spends more than $10 billion thinking they come from Egypt, thinking they come from Ghana. And Nigeria does nothing about this market. And this is a very, very easy market to go after. And they will come and travel in. This is what Folu Koko said. Right now, everybody's struggling. But they're going to travel. So this is where you should focus on. And then based on, and this is what we did with the spearhead. We looked at Cape Town, and we looked at the national park. And this is how we built 10 million foreign visitors. At the same time, once we focus, and this is a Nigerian problem, if we focus on getting African Americans to Nigeria and African Americans interested in Nigeria, guess what will happen? Nigerians will start seeing their own country and saying, wow, if everybody else is interested in Nigeria, we will be interested in Nigeria. And all we need, and I can tell you now, we can reach Beyonce very, very easily. We can reach Michelle Obama very, very easily. So these are the kind of people that we need, that we can. I don't know if you people are aware that DRC Congo is using Mike Tyson to develop their tourism sector, because Mike Tyson's genetic test has proved that he came from Congo, not knowing that the Congolese came from Nigeria 57,000 years ago. The Mbuti, the major clan, the major group in DRC, originated in Nigeria 57,000 years ago. That's genetic science, proven science. Here's another fact, and I'm going to leave you with this. Every group of human beings that originate outside of Africa originate from Yoruba R1b mitochondrial DNA. The originators of every group, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Europeans, Australians, Indians, Pakistanis, everybody originate from Nigeria. So this should be your focus, because right now you're focusing on everything else all over the show. There should be a spearhead, an arrowhead of how you're going to focus and how you're going to build this economy. You have to build it from a particular base. But that, I'll leave you with that. I have to run off, and thank you very much. I really appreciate being given this opportunity, and I think you guys are doing great work. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity for all of you in this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brian. It's been so amazing to listen to you. And I'm sure you've shared a lot that, has stirred all of us listening. And we can assure you that we're going to work, and we're going to still come to you. We hope that you oblige us with whatever assistance you can. So thank you so much. Now let's go to Goge Africa. I'm sure all of us here are old enough to know that some of us know how long that brand has molded, our perceptions when it comes to tourism. So we'll be speaking to Nneka Isaac Moses, and interestingly, even though I know she would mention it, but just as we're talking about these investments, private sector investments, there is the conference that is holding soon that will be discussing this. So I'm also quite excited about that is to happen. It tells us that all that we have been doing in terms of talking to ourselves, in terms of publicizing, I mean, a lot of us here have been participating in the Zoom meetings, these Nigeria 7 Wonders, where all of our attractions are being mentioned. Yes, that is awesome. So we must know about these destinations. We must think about how to network and collaborate to make it happen. And then we need finally the investments. So let me welcome you, Ma.
Good evening.
Good evening. So
good evening, everybody. Yes.
I don't know how to describe you.
Okay, good evening.
We have practically molded for some of us. I remember the very first time I was commercially involved in tourism in 2003. I think that was when I met you at the Argungu Fishing Festival in Kebbi State. And before then, you were already a brand that was in my head. So I was so excited to see you then. So tell us what has it been? What do you think is your biggest success story concerning selling Nigeria?
Okay, Efe, good evening, and good evening, everybody. I mean, everybody in the house. Thank you for this opportunity. Efe, let me not disappoint you. First, I'm very angry. See all the good people that have knowledge you brought to speak before me. The good thing about having knowledgeable people talk before you is two things. One, you learn more even before you speak. Two, you really don't have much to say because you said it all. But be that as it may, I don't think I want to start talking about my story and how we started Goge Africa, but everything that Goge Africa has done just goes to prove the resilient spirit of Nigerians in particular. When we started Goge Africa, nobody knew what we were talking about. You go to the brands, they don't understand it. They say you want to start promoting the villages, people dancing in the village, or what? What are you talking about? Why don't you play music videos and So anyway, it was a very rough journey. But I thank God today, we are no longer the lonely voice in the wilderness. I mean, this meeting wouldn't have happened in 1999 when we started. So I'm so grateful about this. Now, following up to what others have been speaking about, the first thing I'd like to say is that, you see, security is the absence of fear. When people say that they can't come to Nigeria because they are scared, or even me in Lagos, I'm scared to go to Bauchi because I feel it's not safe. It's a feeling. People live in Bauchi, they go around. There are people that say they can't come to Lagos. It's a feeling. And those feelings, I'm sure a lot of people have talked about this already. So what we decided to do as Google Africa is, with all that is going on, the best is to talk to people that can make that change. The government will not make it for you. They can't, they won't, at least not now. We've been speaking with them 20 years now. Apart from that, it is really not government that can do so much for us. That's why we have to take the bull by the horn. When we decided to call industry stakeholders together, we just don't want to speak to the industry stakeholders because if you've done that, other people have done that. What we said is, let's have a cross-sectoral collaboration to be able to have development in our tourism sector and in our economy. So what we decided to do is, let's speak to the investors ourselves. Let's talk to corporate Nigeria, Chamber of Commerce, of course, pull government inside. When Nollywood started, government wasn't looking their way. It was, if you don't know it as tourism stakeholders, it was because of Nollywood that tourism is placed under creative sector. Nollywood made their mark with their money. I'm not saying we are going to put our money because we don't have the kind of money we need to develop tourism as tourism entrepreneurs. But we need to continue having this sort of conversation, but put action to it. So if I know you'll expect me to let everybody know that the conference involves the corporate bodies, MTN will be speaking, because MTN has been supporting tourism since like forever. You watch Google Africa and see all of those festivals. I mean, they are one of our partners that take us there, and they've helped to increase the brand equity of most Nigerian festivals. We are going to call we have, in fact, contacted the Chamber of Commerce. We have also spoken to a lot of state governments who are interested in coming to talk about what they have, so that these people will listen and be able to invest. If we don't, they don't know the value. If we tell them what we have, if you show them where the money is, businessmen will follow you. When Hollywood started, a lot of those Igbo guys were selling spare parts and all of that. Before you knew it, they started putting their money in shooting films. They are and they didn't have any formal upbringing in that regard. But they started excelling. You see, businessmen, if they see money, they follow the money. We had spoken to Afrexim Bank. You know the question they asked me, Dr. Philip Kamau, he said to me, well, this is your gathering. Will you have people that were ready to go $5 million and above? That's the kind of funding they are looking at. I mean, look at Obudu Cattle Ranch. How much do you think you would have spent to develop that and build big hotels around it? So when we get people like this, we talk to them. We are going to have series of it. The first one, how many, the kind of people that are coming to speak, from government to private sector, FTAM presidents, they will speak and tell us what is obtainable. The government will come and tell us what are the incentives for people that are willing to invest in tourism. That is what the businessmen want to hear. If they know what the incentives are, and we on our own show them where the money is, how can we get our money back? Then perhaps we'll start having action, because what we really need is action. We have spoken, but we need to act. it will also interest you guys to know that I think last year, Goge Africa went ahead to sign a partnership with Actors Guild of Nigeria so that we can use those people to help promote some of these destinations, at least those that are ready to do business. But not apart from the actors, we also have the Directors Guild, we have the Producers Guild, we also have the Writers Guild. They should start telling stories that extol Nigeria, stories that showcase our tourism site, stories that sell Nigeria, so to speak. That is how Nigerians will begin to learn and see and want to be there. Goge Africa cannot do it all alone. We've shown the festivals. Yes, we've attracted a lot of people to want to visit some of these places. But other people in the media to also lend their voices to what all of us have been doing, then it becomes easier to sell. I'm very glad that the NTDC boss has already talked about the legal framework for tourism. That is very key. That will help us grow. Getting investors will help us grow. But ultimately, I think that within this sector, we should also learn to collaborate with one another. That collaboration is not really there. People will have tour packages in Enugu and they are in Lagos. They want to do it all by themselves. It's time we get other people involved in what we're doing. If I'm in Lagos, like when I'm in Lagos, when I was organizing a tour in Badagry, I got involved and I go offshore to take care of certain things there. So we should also synergize and be deliberate about how we promote our country. I like what Brian said. He said that he has given us statistics. Nigeria is not the worst country in the world. But what we have been able to portray, even Nigerians, it's easy for us to post negative news, but we don't post positive things about us. And that is one of the things that is killing us. So our greatest undoing in our tourism growth is the lack of branding, the lack of promotion. We have our products, which we will develop, but we need to synergize it and make it possible for others. If we cannot show it to them, there is no how that they will see it. What we saw 20 years ago when we started Goge Africa, other people didn't see it, but it took us time and people are beginning to see it. But with other people involved now, we're not going to last that long for us to gain good traction in the tourism sector, especially domestic tourism. So I think that, like everybody have said, let's start with our domestic tourism. And when I say domestic tourism, I'm thinking of from your dormout. If you're in Lagos, package stores within Lagos. When it improves and people are willing and ready to go far, then we'll start going to Oyo State, Enugu, Bauchi, and all the rest of them. But I think there are low-hanging fruits that we can actually tap into now. So when they say, on your mats, get ready and go, we don't lose all our traveling Nigerians to Dubai and all other places. So we'll be able to retain some of that fund in Nigeria. You asked initially, how have we been able to sustain ourselves? I'm telling you, the sustenance of Goge Africa is not really from Nigeria, because there is no how the government will listen to you when you start. The sustenance of Nigeria is mainly from people outside. And sometimes when we look at Nigeria, we say we don't have skyscrapers, we don't have this. That's not what foreigners want to come and see. If I want to talk about international arrivals in Nigeria, we were invited to University of California in Santa Cruz to give lectures. By the time we finished and we showed the videos of sites and events in Nigeria, what we sold more with is our events. Calabar Carnival or Shoshogo Festival, Eguaro, Iliji, and all of those, Argungu Festival. They were taken in by the Calabar Carnival. And they were asking, is that Nigeria? That's real. I said, no, that's my Nigeria. Right on that trip, we signed up 20 people who later came to Calabar Carnival that year. Now, last year, the people that came into Nigeria from America, do you know what they demanded to see? Not good roads. They want to see a real African king. They want to see the villages. They want to see how we pound fufu. They want to meet Ake and Popo, our stars. These are the things that they're coming out to look for. They're not coming here we're not competing with them on the best 5-star hotel in the world. No, we don't have that, but there are things we already have that they want to see. So I think a lot of people have spoken very well already, so I don't have to go back to what they have said. But ultimately, what we really need is to collaborate with each other, get our sectors involved in what we are doing, so that they can begin to see value in what tourism can offer them. And businessmen will definitely put their money there. If you don't show them the value, nobody will help you to develop tourism. Nobody helped anybody to develop Nollywood. Nollywood showed them value. And you saw those Omata boys putting their money, making movies because they know they will have their return on investment. So a lot of Stalin Bank are people we should embrace. NTN, these are people we should embrace. Even at Frexim Bank, because they are waiting, we have to show them the value and they will come on board. And they are looking for people who are interested in equity funding. So God willing, come next week, we'll kickstart it with private.
Oh, okay. I think we have lost her, but that was awesome. She said a number of things that really did strike me, and one of those is that we must start to take advantage of media to project Nigeria. And when I think of that, what comes to my mind is how the US, for example, uses their movie industry to project the United States. Have you ever noticed that in all of the movies you watch, American movies, if it's an action movie, the US president is always a Superman. He always wins the battle. The US president will be fighting like he was trained in Taekwondo and all the rest. Propaganda, generally. So it helps you to put the United States of America to create that top of the mind awareness that this is the strongest country in the world. And that is what we must start to do with our own Nollywood. Nollywood is one of the biggest, movie industries in the world. And we must start to look at ways to project. How do we tell our stories via Nollywood? Yes, it could be a love story, it could be a traditional story, but how do we infuse those beautiful waterfalls here, mountains here, culture, food, and all of those things into those movies, so that when you watch, you ask yourself, where is this? I want to go there. You know, we must have followed the statistics of the number of people who got interested in visiting the countries where the movies were major movies were shot, like Wakanda, for example. What's the Wakanda movie? I don't know what it's called. And then Avatar. You know, all of these movies have created a lot of interest in the destinations that those movies were shot. So we'll be going over to Pelu Awofeso now, but before then, there are a number of hands that are up. Let us listen to one or two of these persons. Whether questions or comments, please make them brief. I'll start with Fisayo Olayinka Bello. Fisayo, are you there?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Fisayo.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. So I have two questions for Mr. Foley and Mr. Brian. I'm not sure if they're still there. So my introduction, I am Fisayo. I promote destinations in Nigeria and other African countries, and I advocate for tourism development. So my first question is, I know the first ever webinar you had, your panelists also mentioned legal structure. So I know this was also mentioned today. My question is, how do we get that moving? I want us to not just talk about how can we get that moving. The question is the how. What can we do? What do we need to do? I know we've spoken a lot about collaboration, but what are the steps we need to take together to get it moving? And if anybody here can contribute to that, then that would be awesome. Now, Mr. Brian shared a lot of statistics today, which are amazing. I love statistics. So I would love you to, if you can, share the links to these statistics so we can all go ahead and do more research and see what we can do to develop the industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Fisaya. So unfortunately, both of them are not on the platform now. I don't think the DJ is still around. But however, we'll pass these questions to them, and then we'll find ways to. So if you register for the first or the second meeting, and we send you emails regularly, then you're fine. But if not, kindly drop your email address so that we can send you communication. So after these meetings, we're going to be sending all the communiques of all of the meetings, and then one general document that shows all that we have said. And we have made it a point of duty that it's not just going to be talk. So we're going to itemize what actions we can take. One of those actions are how we can get our tour operators to do a lot more work and to become a lot more visible. I think some time ago I noticed that the Vice President of NATOC was present. Thank you very much, Imeldo, for stopping by. I don't know if she's still here. So yes, so it's important that we get tour operators up to their game. Tour operators must become more visible and more audible, because all of the sectors have complained that they don't know anything about our tourism products. The hoteliers came and said they don't know anything. Tour operators are not talking to them. Transporters said the same thing. So we must get the tour operators talking to themselves, creating products, and making themselves visible so that we can then partner. Tourism is big business. Just like Madam Neka said, it's not just about talking about these things. We must start to get those investments, because finally, investors or businessmen will follow you when they see the money. Even government will follow you when they see money. So we must start to show that there's money in tourism. Let me see if there are one or two other hands I'll take before I go to Pelu. I can see Johansson. There are lots of hands up. Let's say please do 30 seconds or more, and then we'll try and take as much hands as we can. Joe, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I'll try as much as possible to do 30 seconds. I pray I do so. I want to say thank you very much to Auntie Neka, like we used to call her. And thank you very much to all the other speakers. I kept coming in and out. However, I also want to say that having joined a few of the conferences that has been ongoing in the past few months, I would love to share with everyone as well. Well done, Ife. It's amazing to continue this. I would like to say that, is it possible that everybody involved in tourism and hospitality have a 2 agenda per term? Over the years, while studying this sector, I've seen that there are so many agendas. There are so many targets. There's so many markets. Everybody wants to do different things at the same time. And there's strength in togetherness. So if we come together and say, you see what, let's focus on brand identity and let's focus on brand content. Permit me to mention a few names, like Campaign Tropicana is there. We also have that in, that's been mentioned, Calabar and so on. What is the state of that place now? The National Stadium in Abuja is there. Have you seen how it is looking now? So we can sell, but what you are selling, is it presentable? So if the content is not looking sweet, it's not looking beautiful, I will not want to go there. So can we have 2 agendas per term, like I would always ask for? Let's focus on the content. Let's ensure that these places are looking good. And then secondly, let's see how we can actually market it. I think if we all, including the NTDC, all bodies, focus on these 2 agendas per term for a year or 2 years, before we go to the next, we'll see improvement and it will be attractive. And then, of course, we can be able to make money rather than having 10 or 15 agendas. And at the end of the day, 10 years gone by, we have not achieved anything.
Thank you, Joe, for that. And that's one thing that has run through all of these conversations, the fact that we do not collaborate, that we're all working in silos. I mean, Madam Sunika mentioned that not too long ago. And one of things we have also said, following these meetings, is to see what we can do to get going. As private sector, maybe we'll copy that Tourism Business Council, but thankfully we have our elders in the house. We have Uncle Femi, we have Alaji Aminu, we have all of these great names. We have Captain Ugisi, who would find a way to get something going, something that can drive private sector, so that there will be some unity of purpose when pushing this. Let's go to Alaji, your hand is up. Do you want to say something, sir?
No, you didn't.
Okay, from the last time. Okay, sir.
From the last time, it was from the last time, yes.
Okay, sir. So let's go to Haruna Ismail. Haruna Ismail, can you please 30 seconds or less, please, so we can get to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ife, and everybody in the house. I would just want to add a comment on the issue of attracting the Americans based on what Mr. Brent said. I'm a member of the American Society of Travel Agents, and each year the association used to have what they call the ADI, the ASTA Destination Expo. I attended one of them in Kenya, 2017. I attended one in Sevilla, 2016. We try to attract ASTA to Nigeria, and they show a lot of positives because a questionnaire was sent, and a lot of people are interested to come to Nigeria then. But what I understand today is the issue of collaboration is very important. And I think with issues like this that we're discussing, we need to work together. Most of us know about ASTA. There are a lot of us that are members, but we refuse, I don't know, deliberately to benefit from what we should benefit in Nigeria. ASTA is willing to come to Nigeria because they gave us all the conditionalities. And I know we try to start speaking with NTDC and the former Minister of Information and Culture. But unfortunately, along the line, we discovered that we can't do it alone. We really need people to come together and bring ASTA to Nigeria. In Kenya, about 600 people attended from the US, and a lot of things were done there. And that gave us the courage that if Kenya can do it, we can also do it because we have the destinations, we have what we want to see in Nigeria. So I think as a group, please, we should try to work together. I hope I will attend the next ADI after this COVID, and we will state that our application. And Mr. Efe, I'll get to you, I'll get back to you, but we know the people that we should bring together so that we bring these people to Nigeria, maybe 2021 or 2022. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. I still remember that beautiful trip I had to Kano and how you hosted me in Kano. I will never forget. And okay, let me not start talking about Kano because it gives me what's it called? Goosebumps.
We are ready to have you back again, Efe.
I'm also looking forward to the Nanta AGM. I mean, sometimes when you don't travel around, you don't get to see and experience these things firsthand. You know, I mean, after doing all of the general tours, you know, from the Makamas to the dine pits and all of that, I tried street food, and it's one of those experiences I cannot forget. Street food in Kano. So before I start blushing about food, let's go to Pelua Officer. I can still see some hands, but please just be patient a little. Dagun Duropol and Labyrinth Enterprises. Infinity Hot X, I don't know who that is, but please hold on and let's go to Pelua Officer. So, yes, so Pelua Officer, if you don't know, let me introduce him to you. I know he introduced himself, but I always brag that this is my own travel writer. You know, basically 2010, he won CNN African Travel Journalist of the Year. And that's not beans in Warri terms. And he has done quite a lot. Maybe you should tell us some of the things you have done, and tell us, how your writing has helped to create awareness about Nigeria. Tell us from yourself.
Hey, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming to the meeting. It's so beautiful to see so many people involved interested in building domestic tourism. All right, and I appreciate everybody who has spoken before now. Like Madam Nneka said, it's a tough call when you've been asked to speak a little later in the in the lineup of speakers. But we all have our different perspectives to this thing, and that's the beautiful thing about it. Everybody comes to tourism from their own strong points. So let me just go back. You talk about the award that I won. I really can't explain how it feels when you are in a Pan-African gathering and your name and your country is singled out for celebration. That was what it felt like to stand on the stage in Kampala in 2010, to receive the award as the best travel writer on the continent. And there I was with so many journalists from more tourism promoting countries, and I was called upon as the best travel writer. And it made me so happy. It helped me put Nigeria in the mind and eyes of everybody. That okay, you may not have heard so much about travel in Nigeria, but through my own works, you will at least have been able to see. Because I looked at the brochure, all the stories that were shortlisted for the award were printed. So I saw all of these countries to that entries, and for them to pick my two stories from Calabar and Enugu State made me so happy. And coming back home, before I even got back to the country, the news was everywhere. I'm a journalist, I'm in the media, and CNN, once you win such an award, they have a global network of media houses who go on and they feed on that information. So it was just a thing of joy for me to win that prize, and then I came back home. And of course, it meant that you became an authority that people wanted to listen to. It meant you knew what you were doing. It wasn't as if I wasn't doing this whole thing before. It all took 8 years to come. All right. It wasn't as if I won the award overnight. I've been doing journalism, writing about domestic travel. I've never written about, except for a few travels that I've done. All my writings have always been about Nigeria. I've never for once, not for one day, been interested in talking about foreign travel. No. Because I understand that there's so much power in the media. But our country doesn't seem to understand that there's the power in the media. And we keep on misbehaving all over the place. We allow people to control our own narrative while just relaxing. 200 million people, why should the news that define Nigeria be news from the CNN or from the BBC or from Al Jazeera? It's wrong. It's unthinkable. People don't allow that to happen to their countries. So I've been on this battle of showcasing the beauty of the country. And I was happy that that award came. And then of course I began to travel more within the country to tell more stories. And beyond just writing the stories, I've also promoted Nigeria by way of books. I've written 4 books so far. I'm working, the 5th book is ready. It should have been published before now, but so many things happened, but the 5th book is ready. They're all about travel in the country. So there's so much we need to do about our media, and that is what I stand for. So everybody promotes domestic tourism from their areas of strength. My strength is writing. It is journalism, it's travel writing, and that is what I'm focused on.
Okay, sorry, okay, great. So now I know that you have released a new tourism magazine called Travel. Can you tell us about Travel? What's the scope of the magazine, and how accessible will it be to Nigerians? And what do you hope to use that platform, or how do you hope to use that platform to educate Nigerians about our tourism?
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so the thing is, Travel is not the first magazine that I've published. It is not the first magazine that I've created. I created two previous magazines before this one. People call me Waka About because I was publishing a magazine called Waka About. all right, for 2-3 years. But we had to stop because we were putting out so much content, but we were not able to support it with advertising. And even the occasional advertising that you run, the big companies, the corporates, are so big that you cannot get your money when you need it. They will hold on to the advertising money for 3 months, for 4 months, for 5 months. You really can't survive. But so it wasn't as if we weren't doing so much, or you just couldn't get the money done. So we had to rest it. Years later, I did another one. I stopped it and I did another one. So travel is a child of necessity, is a child of circumstance. So during the lockdown, I began to think, what exactly can we do more to sell Nigerian tourism, especially to our people? Because in all my years of doing this business, I've come across Nigerians. Nigerians are people, and you'll ask them, hey, what do you do? Where do you go for? Where do you go? I mean, do you know about this place? Do you know about this place? They'll say, no, they don't go. They don't know nothing. And I don't blame them. I do not blame them one bit. Nobody has invested that time and energy and resources to inform our people about what we have across the country. So we are Nigerians who lack every serious information about our own society. We seem to know more about the rest of the world that we go to. Why? Because they invest in promoting those places. All right. So I felt so. And again, I will meet foreigners. I mean, I met some foreigners late last year, for a hospitality program, and they've been around for maybe 5-6 years. And I said, "Have you been here to the center? Have you been to the museum? Have you been to Freedom Park? I mentioned a few places." To my shock, they told, "You mean there are tourist attractions in Lagos that we can see?" I'm like, "What do you mean? In around 5 years, walk and they go to the hotel." So all of this came together during the lockdown. I began to say, I think what we need to do is to do a compilation of travel attractions in this country. There are several, there are countless of them. Each state at least has 100 attractions. So where do you want to begin from? But I said, we're not going to do that. Just identify the ones that people are already going to, the ones that are already getting traction, that we know people travel to. And I said, look, I'm not going to be the one to do it. I know many of these places. I've been to the 2 states in this country, all of them several times over, because as a travel journalist, you get to travel and you write. So I said, let me take a back seat. I don't want to be the one recommending for people. Let me reach out to all the other individuals that I know, photographers, tour operators, everybody who is traveling. Let them be the ones to nominate attractions in this country that our people should know about, that our people should visit. So I got in touch with 40 of them. So travel, when you get a copy of Travel eventually, Travel is a digital publication right now. We are not going to print for some time. It's going to be available as an e-magazine. So you can get onto a platform, subscribe, and read what we've done. So Travel is a compilation of 61, 62 attractions across the country, as nominated by some of our top travelers, and the number about 40. So when 40 people are recommending places for you to visit, this is not the recommendation of one person. And you can't say 40 people are stupid or they don't know what they are saying. So essentially what we've done is just look. So now we have shown you 60 places. 60 places that some of them are more accessible than the other ones. But you don't have the excuse anymore to say there's nothing to see. We have given you a list of places to see. And I'm saying this for the very first time. Why did we choose 60? Because at the time I was thinking about it, I knew October was coming. Independence Day was coming. Nigeria is 60 this year. Let's show Nigerians 60 places they can pick from. On Independence Day, if we have 2 days of independence holiday or public holiday, look at the list that we've compiled for you. And just try to visit a few of these places. I need to say this. We need to begin to cajole Nigerians. We need to begin to beg them. We need to begin to appeal to them to see traveling around Nigeria as a personal social responsibility, as opposed to corporate social responsibility. They don't see Nigeria as a place to travel to. We have to just beg them. See, if you travel to these places, we made a reference to Lumere Falls. I've been there myself. We're on a road trip 2 years ago to the place. You will see so many tourists in that place. You will see so many people try to sell a little bit of this and that. When Nigerians travel, we need to let them know that when you travel to these places, the little money you spend it helps to elevate the locals of those places. Forget about the bad road. The bad road is not going to happen in 5 years. It's not going to be good in 10 years. It's not going to even be good in 20 years. So let's forget about infrastructure. Infrastructure is never going to be good. So are you going to deprive yourself of these beautiful experiences before the road is good? If the road is bad? No. If we have to go to NYSC, nobody talks about the road. If you want to go to a party of a cousin, of a sister, or anybody, you do not talk about the road. We fly, I mean, we travel by road to Lokoja, to anywhere, to go and party with our family. We don't talk about the road at that time. Why should it be when we now want to talk about tourism? We now begin to say the roads are bad. Infrastructure is not going to be anywhere if we do not invest in it. And how do we invest in it? It's by traveling. And how do we make that travel happen? It's by showing people where these places are and then let them decide among themselves where they want to visit. So let me just give a bit about travel magazine right there. I hope there's so much to say, but I'm trying to rush myself so that I don't overshoot the time.
Thank you so much. For me, it's quite exciting because we need a lot more platforms that will push the narrative for Nigeria. So whether they are print media, electronic media, we need those platforms, social media in every way. We need all of these platforms to push this narrative. And it is so,
Let me just really make this point. I escaped my mind when I was talking. Now, we didn't just create travel. Yeah, we've created travel because of that idea to push Nigerians to see what we have. But at the same time, we are also trying to become the magazine for the industry. All right? We are going to be, so we just want to position ourselves as a magazine that the industry can turn to. So in the past 6-8 weeks, there have been maybe a dozen Zoom meetings trying to address tourism in Nigeria, developing domestic tourism. The mainstream media is not reporting this thing. All right, the mainstream media is not reporting it. So we're talking to ourselves, we're talking to people who want to really do so much. But the rest of the country is not seeing it. All right, and the media is powerful. Government listens to the media. So imagine if all of these conversations were put together in a publication that everybody can see. You won't say the government is not, even the government will take it more seriously. The private sector will take it more seriously, seeing that during the lockdown, okay, you guys have about 12, 13, 14, 15 minutes trying to find a way out of this industry. That is what we want travel to be. So for travel agencies, for tour operators, hospitality people, entertainment, and leisure, everybody who is in the space, travel is for you. Whatever it is that you do and you want it recorded or documented, please just get across to us. We want to just report the industry. So when we're talking about when the bankers and the government are saying, okay, what are you guys doing? How do we have information? Where is the information? They can always go to travel and see that the industry that they've been neglecting is actually active. So much is going on. And I can tell you, we reported the second NTW meeting, 2.0. We reported that as an industry news in the current edition. So when you read a copy of this edition, you will see what people were talking about in the second. This is the second meeting. We wrote and reported about the second meeting. So we'll keep on doing all of this and keep on growing that information base so that our industry can have a voice that we can always point to.
Thank you so much, Pelu. So I hope you drop the link to, I can see questions about how they can read the magazine. Please drop that link.
Yeah, I've shared the links already. Please just go and look at the chat. I've already shared links to some stories and to where you can subscribe to read the publication. We plan to still print it out, eventually, because we also want to see them in hotel lobbies, in airlines, at the airport, so that when you're traveling, you can always pick a copy and take it along. I hate it when people travel and what they read and papers. You shouldn't be reading ad news in a plane. You should be reading stories about places when we're flying, not stories about politics and corruption and stealing. So those are the visions that we have for travel. We want to be the document that everybody traveling in the country can share what are places of interest.
Definitely. So when you travel, when you're in the bus traveling from Lagos to Bumosho or wherever, when you're in that plane from Lagos to Abuja,
before you go.
Be reading something about travel, something setting you in the mood.
Simple. Relax yourself.
Whether you're traveling, even if it's for business, even if it's for business, there's nothing stopping you from spending one extra day or just a few hours of that trip to explore the local community where you're doing your business. So we have 5 more minutes to 6:30 when we round up for today. Let's try and see if we can get these hands up to to ask their questions or give their comments in 30 seconds or less. I'll start from Kemi. Labims, your hand has been up for quite some time. Labims Enterprises, please, 30 seconds.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I appreciate everyone. Well done for the job. Madam Tinuke and the last speaker. Thank you for everything. It's been an inspiring and wonderful presentation all through. My contribution is that just to buttress what Pelumi just said, I've forgotten his name now.
Yeah, Pelumi.
Yes, Pelumi, we've been having this meeting, like you said. And with what Mr. Brian really said, there's so many things out there for us to work with. And they are really capital intensive. So my own take in it is that, one, we have all these banks. They are there competing with visas with us and all that. So why don't we, for them to tell them that this is a gold mine, there's money here. You people are already struggling with us with the little Dubai visas and all that. Come in, bring those money that you are keeping in the bank. They told you people to give us loan, you have not given us loan. Bring the money in. There are places for us to invest on. I believe, if we know the stakeholders there, maybe the bank directors, the MDs, whenever we're having this meeting, let's just bring 1 or 2 of them in, or one of the strong bank that we know that they will buy into the vision. Then with our national body, thank God we have a NANTA body now to say, okay, you know what, as you're coming in, putting your money, maybe there will be percentage of money sharing when the thing comes up, to say, okay, if you as a bank is doing this, all the other agent, whatever we get, that's just my own contribution to it. Then the other thing is that I think I've forgotten about that one. Just the banks, let's bring them in because they have money. Let's bring them in. In all this presentation, we've been talking. We need action. And what is keeping everybody afar from it is that we really know what to do about the money. So that's just my little contribution.
Okay. Thank you so much. Very valid comments. And it would interest you to know that, yes, the banks are listening. In fact, right here with us, we have Sterling Bank. We have representatives from Sterling Bank who are listening to our conversations. And in fact, they spoke at the last meeting. And I know they are also involved in the meeting, in the conference that's going to be held on 22nd of July.
Okay.
And so, yes, there are those discussions going on. Sterling Bank, they have made their intentions known to become the tourism bank.
There's another bank that I know is supporting travel. Is it Polaris Bank now? There's this bank by Eco Hotel Roundabout, the new one that just opened there.
No wahalas. We're happy and willing to to discuss with them, but now we can confidently say that Sterling Bank they've thrown their hat into the ring, and they said they are willing to. And so let's listen. Let's see what they're doing. I know that very, very soon there's a lot that's going to be announced. So stand by. Make sure that if you've not gotten emails from us, that you drop your email.
Yes, Providos Bank. That's the bank. Providos Bank. Yeah.
Yes. So make sure that you follow us, and when these informations come out, you'd be able to follow through. Now, okay, three more questions quickly. Kemi S, is that Madam Kemi Shueton?
Yes.
Oh, okay, please go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Excellent session as always. We've had comments about low-hanging fruits. I'd like to put this out there. We have been doing educational tours within Nigeria for about 16 years now, and I believe that is also an area that we can tap into as a real low-hanging fruit. We have said Nigerians do not know Nigeria. And it is really true, because it is when I started doing tours for other people that I took my children to Abeokuta. I should cover my face because I'm from Abeokuta. So it can be that bad. I'm just using myself as an example. So the reality is that I believe each state, tour operators in each state, or the NTDC in each state, we need to get that collaboration going so that our children in primary schools can see the places around them and do it properly, the tour destinations around them, tourist attractions. When we do that, we help them to begin to know their country, and then we take them further afield. The place you know is a place you will love. I love Nigeria because I love to travel. I've been almost all over Nigeria, and it's deliberate. But the more you teach people about a thing they should love, the more they will be able to love it. If they don't know it, they cannot love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. We need to catch them young, and of course make money whilst at it.
Yes,
school business is a very, very big, market that we can take advantage of. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ma. Then SOA Vibes, that's Sahid Adile. Please, let's hear you. Hello, Saeed, are you there?
Next.
Okay, let's listen to Dagunduro Paul. Your hand has been up. Are you looking to ask a question or say something? We have a few more minutes to round up.
Hello.
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 Yeah. Good evening.
Okay. Yes, please. 30 seconds, kindly.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've been following the contribution of so many rich contributors that have been on air since, and I want to say I'm a big fan of tourism in Nigeria. I mean domestic tourism. I personally like to look into or talk about the contribution of the government. As much as some people feel that, well, it's the private sector and all that that needs to do much on the people, I think the government needs to create a leverage for many people who have interest in domestic tourism to express themselves and to get involved in it. And one of the things I think the government can do is like probably creating a pool where people can actually contribute. For example, the civil servants can have a pool where they can be contributing annually. And civil servants always go for their annual leave every year. And most of the civil servants doesn't even go for their annual leave. What they do is to go and sit down at home or do one business, and they continue working all through the year. So if like the pension that is being removed from source and all that, people that are interested in as civil servants and government workers can actually have their own way of contributing and saving up for tourism during their annual leave, and then go for leave domestically. By extension, it actually has effect on their health, because I see that we have not actually been talking about that health aspect. Many people are having health issues because they continue working and running after money and all that, as concerning, trying to make a living for themselves. But then the good side of going for vacation, which is about tourism and going all around to see the beautiful places in Nigeria, is that it has an effect on their health, a positive effect on the health of many Nigerians. It helps us to be more balanced. When we go off work and we go to see beautiful sites, beautiful places, go to beautiful things, know about beautiful things that we have in Nigeria. It goes a long way. So I think the government can help in this way. Lastly, I would just like to say that we need to talk to content producers on the internet. Every page that we open on the internet can pop up a beautiful picture of beautiful places that we have in Nigeria to showcase to the world that, okay, this is what we have. I can remember that I traveled to India and I could see that anywhere I get to, you see incredible India. I got there, I couldn't see something that is more incredible than Nigeria. Sincerely, I know that there are beautiful places in Nigeria that if by every page that we open on the internet, every site that we go, every content that is being requested online, the page that first pop up is a beautiful picture of maybe Cattle Ranch or all these other places that we have in Nigeria, I think it will actually send a signal and it will make more impact and make an impression on people that, okay, I need to visit this place. Let me work towards visiting it. So content producers, vloggers, bloggers, and other people can be contacted to actually have their own input. And this is my contribution. Thank you.
Awesome contribution, Paul. I love that idea about government, institutionalizing travel, holidays for civil servants. And I know that whilst making research for a training session I have next week, I jotted down there's a country in Europe that actually has a scheme like that, where where companies are incentivized to give out trips to their staff, and especially public sector rather. So wonderful idea. We will talk about this and we'll see how we can bring these ideas as we go. I hope I have your contact somewhere there.
Yes,
and
my contact is there.
We'll keep in touch. So
Yes,
let's go now to Saeed. Are you there? Saeed Adele, are you there?
Okay, yes, I am, please.
Okay, quickly, 30 seconds so we can round up.
The team, thank you, Effie, and the rest of the team. We really do appreciate you. I just want to, emphasize here, there is so much to be done, and we could easily get swallowed by, the enormous tax ahead. So, but there's a reason why corporates approach a merger and acquisition whenever it comes to business and growth. On this platform, I mean, since the beginning of the series, there's been a lot of, I would say, strong, reasonable, and efficient entities within, the tourism space. I would love to challenge, Afe and the rest of the team to actually look at within the, this existing networks of individuals, those that you can hold accountable and perhaps, decentralize and, basically zoned out individuals to, to basically take care of the different zones. Perhaps you work by the country's geopolitical zone or what have you, regardless of their place of, of birth, but rather on the premise of efficiency of work. And have individuals start looking into these zones, identifying the strongholds, what businesses thrive in those areas, from the public sector and private sector. And of course, leverage your diaspora network, like I continue to emphasize, to see how things can be done. I mean, everything Brian has said alongside with the DG are things that I believe the majority of us are informed about, but the doing is where the difference actually lies. So in order for things to work, you must have the efficient people to represent and really, spearhead in this direction. So for that, I really, would like for you guys to think this through, get your folks together, decentralize, and actually things that. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Saeed. Now we'll go to a last comment from Pelu before we round up. And just before Pelu makes that comment, I'd like to just remind us two coming events, tourism industry events that I'd like you to take note of and put in your calendars. On the 22nd of July at 3 p.m., you have the event by Boge Africa, which is a cross-sectoral collaboration for tourism and economic development. And so that's the business, that's the money event, where we'll have all of these private sector players and others who are looking to invest in tourism will be speaking. And so let's go there and make our voices heard. Let's think of those ideas we can start pushing, and let's get private sector to put their money where their mouth is when it comes to tourism. Then on the 22nd of August, we have the TIDA conference, which is also themed tourism and its community. So basically, these are two events, 22nd July, 22nd August, that you must put on your calendar. Now, Pelu, let's hear you quickly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Efe, for giving me this window of opportunity. So I was going to conclude my presentation by saying that after all is said and done, all of us as individuals and groups interested in promoting the travel, we want to consider these 2 or 3 points. One, I think we all need to consider how to create a travel-focused hashtag for Nigeria, as well as a travel-specific slogan. All right. Ordinarily, the government should be creating these things, but they haven't done that. And like we've all learned here, the government isn't going to do so much. The government has its own role to play, but we have to take the steering wheel now and begin to chart this course, and then let government catch on. A travel hashtag that all of us can rally around and we can talk to Nigerians about. Anytime you travel anywhere in the country and you are sharing on social media, I add this travel hashtag to it. I can see it all Nigeria, we already know. Let's all agree what travel hashtag we want to adopt to promote Nigeria. What travel slogan do we want to adopt for Nigeria? And finally, I'm thinking that there has to be an alliance. We need to create an alliance. And what I've called it the 1M Alliance, essentially 1 million alliance, which is that all of us should come together and work together, even individually, but collectively. Let's see how we can ensure or encourage Nigerians, 1 million Nigerians, to travel in this country annually. And that's why I've actually named it the 1M Alliance. If we cannot also come behind this sort of alliance. We know the airlines, the aviation people, they have all this kind of Star Alliance, all of that in alliance. There's a reason for it. So if we can adopt the same prototype to say that let's target seeing 1 million Nigerians traveling in this country every year, I think it's a goal that we can set for ourselves, and it's a goal that we can achieve. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you so much, Pelu. Wonderful idea about the hashtags. I think we can even have two. I know that we already have one, Tour Nigeria, the hashtag Tour Nigeria. And I can see another one by Hassan Zakari on the chat room, Fascinating Nigeria. So yes, very, very important that we have these hashtags that we can always use. And use it, yes. Okay, great. So as we round up, let us take final words quickly from all of the panelists. We have had an amazing time, and I'm sure that we have all learned something, and there are lots of ideas we can hit the ground running with. So let's quickly take final words from all of the speakers who are available here. We'll start with Madam Tinuke Nwakohu. Please go ahead with your final words. 1 minute or less, please.
Thank you, Ife. Well, it's been an exciting session. Well, we have all spoken about the tourist sites. We know where they are. First and foremost, charity must start at home. So we must all endeavor to try and visit this site. You can only sell where you have been. Not being there, it's very difficult for you to sell. That's number one. Then number two, I'm going to dump this on your table, Ife. We cannot do this alone. We need to collaborate. We need to bring together all the tourist organizations. We need to work together. We cannot work in isolation. We have been doing that for too long. We need to come together. TCF, work with NANTA. NANTA, work with FTAN. FTAN, work with IOD. IOD, work with NT. We all need to work together. And the NTDC DG has told us he is ready to work with us. Let us now push the government. Let's push him. Let us start with the legal framework. And whilst that is on, let us now come together, identify the major tourist spots, and start from there. Even if it is just 5 we have to start with, it is something. But honestly, all our efforts would have gone to waste if we do not start something now. The time is now, and we have to start. So, Efe, I put that to you. It's on your table. We are all ready to work with you, because together we must make this a success. Up Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. I'm sure that we'll get that working with your support, of course.
Definitely.
Let's go to the next panelist, Madam Lolo Ngozi Ngoka. Are you there? Please, your final words. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I was going to talk about collaboration, but since Madam Tinuke has gone there, we cannot emphasize it enough. Let us not see each other as competitors. let us see each other as collaborators. Because the trend in the industry now that I see is that they think, oh, I don't know what this person is up to. And it's just so unrealistic, because when people work together, everybody benefits. You cannot work in isolation. So I will leave it there. We'll talk about that some other time. Every time he comes on one of the legislation and legal to talk to him about that. You see, in many countries, you know, I have lived in about 7 countries now, you know, in my life, and tourism usually begins from the organized tourism sector. They are the people that actually push legislation. The reason we are having problem in Nigeria is because the legislation is coming from government. And of course, there'll be resistance. I see a lot of people resisting one thing or the other. But if the thing actually comes from, like EFTAN, actually pushes for the legislation, it will be easier to pass, because everybody's ideas, all the interests will be entertained, and it won't be that the government is coming to supervise something. You know why it's like that in tourism? Most initiatives in the tourism industry are initiated by people. Government did not start it for them. It's not a government business. And so there's always that resistance that I spent my money, I built this hotel, you did not even repair the road, you did not do this, you want to come and legislate. It's something that I have been in government, so I know what I'm talking about. You cannot legislate for the tourism sector without their understanding, without their input. In fact, they even want to do it themselves. So my advice is that we sit down with the DG and look at this legal framework that he's talking about and see how we can move it forward, because we really need it. We really, really need a legal framework to move forward. But it's something that we in the industry have to contribute to and take. Effie, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ma. I don't think there's anything more to add to that. Very, very, very important, and it's so great that, you know, all of these great minds are talking about the importance of collaboration at this time, and I'm sure that we'll get there. We'll have to start with baby steps, but we will get there. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone who has joined our Zoom meetings. I don't know if there's any other panelists still around who would like to give their final. Madam Neka, are you there? Your final words? I think you're the last panelist. Yes,
oh,
final
okay.
words, ma.
Well, my final words would be, they've all said it all, but one thing is, let's be very deliberate about branding Nigeria. We have to be deliberate about branding Nigeria. Also, we have to also show value to the people that can invest in our sector. We have to show value to the banks. We have to show value to investors. Let them see what it is that they're putting their money into, and help them also realize what the return on investment will be. I think that's one way that they really get interested and put their money where their mouth is. Thank you, Effie, and thank you, everybody.
So much. Let us show value. And I'm very sure that we will show that value. We'll show them where the money is, and we'll all make this money. So on this note, we're bringing the 7-week series to a close. I would like final words from Uncle Olufemi Adefokwe. If he's with us, kindly indulge us, sir. It will be so fitting to have you say the final words after 7 weeks. Are you there, sir? Hello, Uncle Femi. Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay.
If I don't think he's there.
He is.
He may be signed in, but he's not on desk.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Please do us the honor, sir.
You needed to get me in there somehow. Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be on this platform. I'll make it very quick and short. It's been a great series, Efe. Congratulations and all the participants. However, execution is the key. It's one thing to talk, it's another thing to execute. So whatever it is we have done over the past 7 series, the key is what happens at the end of the day. So wherever, however we have decided to move forward, we have to move forward. And I guess this is the best time to move forward. So without execution, all strategies, all good intents are gone, non-existent. So please let us execute. And that's where, Efe, you know, I'm there for you. Execution is the key. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Truly distinguished people who have been on this platform. Have a great evening. Have a blessed weekend. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well,
sir.
it's so
Thank you,
Managing
sir.
Titan has said it all. We must execute, and we're willing to. We have the legs to do the footwork with the guidance of our elders in the house and all of tourism stakeholders. We will do this work. We'll reach out to all of the stakeholders and we'll try and see how we can. Like I said, we'll take baby steps, but we will walk. We'll walk and then we'll run. We have all of the potential and we'll make it happen. Thank you so very much. I can't say that enough. Please tune in on Tuesday and let's start talking business. And then if you don't have your email address, please remember to drop them and look out for the communiques. So we'll have all of the communiques and then one document that shows all of those talking points, all of those small actions we'll take up to where we want to go to. Thank you again. And now I'll mute everyone so we can say bye-byes. Thank you to everyone. I can't even start mentioning names. Thank you so much. All participants are muted now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Congratulations. Mr. Pelumi, hope you have young journalists. Mr. Pelumi, please groom more young journalists
We are trying
to do a lot of the travel news for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Madina, thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you, Pelu. I can see you. Thank you. Well done.
Thank you, Efe.
Well done.
Well done.
I appreciate your tenacity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alaja.
It's either major.
Well
That's our
done.
backbone. We can do anything. Thank you, Fadila. Thank you, Noella.
Thank you. Alaja, how are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you so much. Efe, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ma.
Well done.
Bella.
Bless all of us. Nice weekend.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Daisy, long time. How are you?
Daisy.
Thank you.
Mr. Olotu, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to
Madam
see you.
Labins ló ń kí yín o.
Yeah.
Madam Labins.
Ọ̀rẹ́ mi ń kọ́.
Àlàáfíà ló wà.
Madam ẹ kúrò lẹ́mà.
Labins.
Èmi nìyẹn ọṣẹ́ wa mà.
I'm fine.
Okay. We are survivors, so we are winners.
Abio, we
Yes,
thank
Lord.
God. We thank
We
God.
thank God.
Kevin,
Yes, we'll rise again.
Yes.
Our industry is resilient.
Yes.
Biola, hi. How are you?
Mr. Coyle,
Biola,
what
how are
happened
you?
here?
See
That's
you.
good here.
Nice to see
I'm
you.
well, thank you. I'm well,
Good.
thank you. How are you?
Okay, I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
Peju, how are you? Thank you.
Don't see, show
Ife,
people, show
that's been a
yourself.
wonderful one.
What do you mean?
Thank you, ma.
Yeah,
Madam Margaret Sekete, thank you so much.
Mrs. Ekerete.
I think Nigerians have got their attention now.
Well, I pray so.
Thank you all.
Yes, well.
Thank you.
Okay, time to go now.
I think we've gotten to a point where we have no choice. We're home. We're all home.
Yes, so no choice. Action.
Bye.
Yes, so time to go. The next will be on the
I'm going to
action
be
field.
in touch with you. This is Mrs.
Thank
Ogumbi.
No problem, ma. Thank you.
Okay, cool. I have
Thank
work
you.
for
I hope
you.
everyone has their emails.
Oh boy. All right.
Okay, bye-bye. Fadila.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Efe. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Together. Nice meeting all of you. Congratulations on promoting tourism and the work that you do. I just found the event today and it's been a time well spent. So well done.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So I hope yeah, do you have your email? Did you get our email, Fadila?
No, I didn't get your email, but I dropped my email in the
Oh,
chat
okay.
box.
Yeah, so if it's there, then we'll see that you get the communiques.
Okay, I'll
So
appreciate it.
If it's signing off.
Need every hand. Okay.
Stay well.
Okay, bye-bye, ma'am. We need
Bye-bye.
every hand to be on deck. We must get this going.
Done.
More.
Done.
Definitely.
My strengths are advocacy, so
yes,
I'm all on all fours.
Yes, sir.
Well done.
Thank you. Mr. Mark.
Have a nice day.
No, if it's over, this is Miacha. Thank you, well done.
Oh, Madam Macha.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Yes, so
Sorry,
I'm calling you shortly to discuss bonding, but we'll talk about that.
No problem. All right.
Okay.
Okay then.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
Done. Yeah.
Let's go.
Aw. Nobody wants to leave.
Fisaya, you don't want to leave. Let's leave. So,
Nene, you're not saying anything, Nene.
I'm a co-host. I cannot be talking all the time. I'm a co-host. I can't be talking all the time. All of you, bye-bye. Bye. I need to talk to Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.